Tell, Cockerel. He's just a chill guy. You'll have a chill time. Tell, Cockerel. Leave your troubles at the door. You know the game, you know the score. We're here to have fun, so holster that gun and read the writing on the wall. The predictions leak, done every week. It just goes on and 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 on. Why do I always get it wrong? Tell, Cockerel. He's just a chill guy. You'll have a chill time. Tell, Cockerel. Jose gets himself around, always talking Spurs wherever he is found, home or away. He always tips to win, throws the form book in the bin with a cheeky knowing grin. Tell, Cockerel. He's just a chill guy. You'll have a chill time. Tell, Cockerel. Every time I play along, tell Cockerel. The show is so chilled, your time is well filled. If you want good friendly chat, then here's where it's at. Tell Cockerel. Goes on and 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 on. Why do I always get it wrong? Tell Cockerel. The show is so chill, your time is well filled. If you want good friendly chat, then here's where it's at. Tell Cockerel.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tell Cockerel. Today's Tuesday, the 10th of June. I hope that everybody's in the world as well, in the world of Tottenham and the world of whatever club you support, whether it's your morning, your afternoon, or your evening. And I have with me today Adrian, who everybody knows, and I know him as the Oracle. From Spurs diehards TTID. Good afternoon, Adrian. How are you, my man?
I'm fine, thanks. Things are hotting up on the Spurs front, aren't they? So we're all waiting for confirmation of Thomas Frank being named manager, which probably will happen tomorrow. Or it's not happening today, is it? So we're all waiting for that. And obviously the transfer windows is closed today till the 16th, but let's hope our recruitment team have been working in the background.
There should be a third person on, but a third person messaged me to say that they were running late, and that was at like 2 minutes to 4 before the show was to start. So we hung about a bit to see whether he'd appear, and he hasn't. So we've decided to just come on and go live now, and it's quite difficult because I don't really want to go and rehash and re-talk about what we're talking about. But the first thing I'm going to start with, Adrian, is Tottenham made a change. We lost the manager on Friday evening. What were your thoughts about that Friday? Because obviously today you're going to have a different thought process because it seems to be that people have forgotten about what happened on Friday, or quite a lot of people have moved on with what happened on Friday. Some haven't, some have. But how was you feeling? You know, Friday and today, how you feeling?
I was angry with the club. I wanted Ange to be given this next season. But I mean, then you saw lots of fans straight away when managers are linked with us being anti-Frank and all that because of that. That's not me. I'm not throwing darts at a new manager just because Ange's gone. My angst is basically at the fact that the way it was done. I think it's disgusting, but that's business nowadays. It's ruthless. That's the way it is. That's it. I mean, like, and I hope that when this Thomas Frank announcement is made, and I'm sure it will, that the fan base will unite behind him.
Sorry, my dog's biting. That's my wife's coming back up. Let me just say, what I forgot to say is hello to the people in the chat. Right, Jimmy Oxford was here earlier. Says, "Big up Jose in the chat. Hope you're well. I hope you're well, Jimmy. And I hope the weather's well with you. And I hope all the dog walking is going well." Quez says, "How's it going?" Quez, it's been a minute. I haven't seen you for a while now. It's got to be a couple of months. Coming on a couple of months. I'm not seeing you, Quez. I hope you are well, sir. I hope you're well. Ryan G is here. Says, "Good afternoon, Jose and Adrian. Hope you're both well." We are, Ryan. I think we both are well. I hope you are too, mate. I hope you are enjoying the weather, life in general. The madness season will start now with managerial changes, although we're the first ones to do it, and then with new player signings and with players going. So silly season started, right? But I hope that you are well. Peter is here. Hi all, 1:16 a.m. in Melbourne. Good morning to you, Peter. I hope this finds you well, and I hope you are not as busy as with serious things. I hope the patients are all behaving. Good afternoon to Daniel. Says, "Big up." Good afternoon, Dan. Again, I hope you are well, sir. I hope you are well, and I hope that this show finds you well, healthy. And looking forward to what comes in the future for us all. David Shearer is here. Levy has been kicked out. Ange to come back in according to Talk Sport. Wow. So you've got that from David Shearer. Who else have we got here? We've got Dan saying, "Part and parcel of football, you move on with the times. No point focusing on the manager who's no longer here." Dan Davenport, good afternoon, Dan. He says, "Frank has no experience in European club football competitions." Adam McFarland, good afternoon, sir. Ange out, Davis out, Leanick out. Short and sweet, everyone out. Adam says, "Don't care, Dan. I couldn't watch us under Ange." And then you've got people all saying hello to each other. So, Peter saying, "David, if Poch had this squad, he would win Champions League." Oh, yeah. And David here says, "Got to go, have fun, gents." Right. So, and Jesse's here saying, "Afternoon all." Good afternoon, Jess. I hope you are well. I hope that this show finds you well. I hope you're happy and healthy as can be. And as I said, silly season for everyone starts soon when we start getting into the nitty gritty of who's coming and who's going, which will happen. Hasn't happened at the moment, but will start happening throughout the summer as any other summer. And with that, I've got to say, buenas tardes, Ian. How are you, sir?
Just come back from the beach to a message from Adrian. Can you get on El Tel Cocorel?
Mi amigo in España. He's in Spain, for those that don't know
it. I will always help you out. You know that, mi amigo.
How's the weather out? How's the weather out there, Ian? Because you just said you come back from the beach.
The finest and the best, Jose.
How's the weather out there, mate?
Yeah, it's actually a bit overcast, but 30 degrees and overcast. You know what I mean? It's I'm sitting here. I've just had to put my Toldos down to keep the sun out and pour a drink, and I might have to put the fan on and the air conditioning on and all that. You know, so a bit like it is in Glasgow, really. Just
it's 32 degrees here, Ian, because I've got the heating on.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody in the chat. Of course,
this one's for you, mate. Look.
Yeah. Big up, Peter.
There's my mate.
It's just for you. Look, it says Ian. It's 1:19 a.m. in Melbourne.
I've got this thing. I think I've got Peter on some sort of alarm system. But any time I go on a broadcast, Peter wakes up and comes on air, tells me what the time is, and goes back to bed.
Peter's working because when he sees these shows at this time of night, I'm sure it's Peter that's working. And then sometimes when it's early morning, I think Peter's still working and coming towards the end of his shift. And that's what I think. And it's you know, Peter will tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm thinking.
You mean it's not me?
And then you've got Ryan G says it's warm here, 23 today, and lovely. And Peter says it's 5 degrees and overcast in Melbourne.
Oof.
I've seen some people from in Australia posting, and you can see how cold it is. I've got friends that have flown from one part to another, and their pictures on Facebook from where they've gone. They are wearing woolen clothes.
Yeah,
completely.
I know you've done the hellos, but can I just add, there's a few of our regulars as well, Daniel and David and Peter, obviously, and Ryan. Big up to you, sir, and Jess, and anybody else who knows me. I think that's everybody. But,
Jimmy Hotspur.
And Jimmy, sorry, did I miss Jimmy?
Adam McFarlane, Dan Davenport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you to those in the chat that follow both our shows, because Jose's got exciting news to tell you about his shows and our shows, which come as a surprise.
I actually only want to talk to people that finished below me in the prediction competition.
So Jose, give the viewers the exciting news, right?
No. I'm going to talk about all this about Tottenham first. We can talk about the other stuff afterwards. I'd rather talk about Tottenham first. So, Ian, I asked Adrian that 5 days in football is a long time, mate.
Yeah.
On Friday, when the announcement was made, how was you feeling on Friday? Because what I've seen, if I'm rightly or wrongly, I've seen the temperatures changed ever so slightly from people from Friday to today, and today's only Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, how are you feeling on Friday? How are you feeling today, Ian?
Yeah, it's funny that, because I introduced my show on Sunday night with Harold Wilson said a week's a long time in politics, and 30 hours is a lot, 50 hours is a long time in football. Yeah, I think, look, we're all fickle. We all move on. At the end of the day, we understand the reasons why Ange was punted. For my money, I'd have given him the season to see if he could turn around what he'd achieved. I think it's not just the winning of the cup. It seems to me that he was creating a mentality within the squad that we've lacked. I mean, there's a reason why we've only ever won 2 league titles in our 100, taking out war years, 135-year history or whatever it is, and that's down to mental strength. So I'd have given him that time. That's just a personal opinion. I understand anybody in the chat. I can't read what you're saying because I'm talking, but if anybody disagrees with that and comes up with, I'm fed up people saying 22 league defeats. I know, but I understand why you're saying that. I understand why the board have taken that decision. I'd have just liked to have given him more time. Thomas Frank wouldn't have been my number one choice. It would have been Oliver Glasner. Xavi Hernandez would have been a risk, because he doesn't know English football, but maybe a risk worth taking. At the bottom line with this club and this this leadership, everything's a risk. I mean, there's a reason why we've gone through 212 managers in 403 days, Colin. Hi, Colin.
Hey, guys.
I'll carry on talking for a minute. Look, with Eddie Howe, everybody said when he was at Bournemouth, Eddie Howe will get a top 6 job and Eddie Howe will do a good job in a top 6 job. And you like to think that this is the same with Thomas Frank, that he served his apprenticeship. You can argue he's a mid-table manager. He's never been better than mid-table. But then again, you look at Brentford. Brentford's probably been in the 3rd division in my time watching football. He's taken a relatively modest club, and you'd say, when you look at West London, you've got Chelsea, Fulham, Queen's Park Rangers. they're not even the biggest club in West London, never mind about in London, and he's made them a good side, a pleasant side to watch, if not over exciting. But he's made them difficult to beat. He's made them resilient. He's tactically astute, and with a better squad of players, you hope he can do the kind of job that other managers that have stepped up will do. 2 quick points. One, his record when he started at Bromby and when he started at Brentford was awful. I don't know if anyone's got them to hand, but I don't think he won 2 of his first 10 with Bromby, and it was similar with Brentford. And people are going to have to be patient, because I could understand it getting very toxic very quickly. If we start the league and we're in 15th place, we're out the League Cup, maybe lost and drawn a Champions League game, and people are saying we should have stuck with Ange rather than paying the 10 million or whatever. But he could start well with different players. I think he'll be much more hands-on with the players than Ange was. He's the manager of our club, or he will be. I don't think it's been announced yet, has it? I haven't looked at my phone.
No, there's no announcements.
2 or 3 hours. As far as I'm concerned, he's the manager of our club. He will have my support until he doesn't deserve it anymore. But just Adrian and I on our show have said constantly how much we've got to stop this wash, rinse, repeat with managers. I mean, at some point, someone has to be given a good run, 3, 4, 5 years, and build a proper club. I'm hoping there's going to be changes in ownership before too long, and I'm hoping this man succeeds and is a genuine long-term manager.
Well, just on that, Ian, just to look to what you said before.
Peter says no, it's his night off tonight, back tomorrow. So
I'm going to catch up on the chat while probably
I think what well. I'm going to catch up on the chat as well. But what that's what I'm going to do now, and then introduce Colin. But Peter's saying no, night off tonight, back tomorrow. I think what he does is because Peter does nights, he then he stays up tonight to get himself ready to go to sleep, to get up to work tomorrow night, so to speak. And that's why he's not working tonight, but he's still up at this time. And then he's given out, whilst you were talking, he's gifted out 5 channel memberships. And these have gone to Parker, Naomi Edge, Ryan G, who I've seen thank him already, Smithy, and Carl Simpson. So thank you very much for your generosity, Peter. And I see already that Ryan has said thank you to you. Billy is here. Billy says, big up Jose, EMF, Adrian, and everyone in the chat this afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Philly. I hope this show finds you well, sir. Billy then says, if you were talking, Philly, I think at the time, he says, EMF, Spurs can finally get a solid defensive midfielder. A couple of people saying hello to Colin. Then we've got Daniel saying, I struggle to understand winning mentality. Really, when you're getting battered for 5 months straight at home in the Europa League, fair enough, he got us over the line that night. Andy Nguyen, I hope you are well, sir. Liverpool Sport, it looks like, says Eze to Tottenham. It was smart. He then says, it was the same issues every week for me. Spurs were conceding the same goal, but Spurs weren't solving those issues under Ange. Philly says, Frank seems like a slow burner, similar to Pochettino. You've got Kate says, afternoon, or good afternoon, Kate. I hope you are well. And then Jimmy Hotspur says, the big advantage is all he got is he got all pre-season to access the players, SWOT analysis, and implement his systems of play. Colin, good morning, Colin, because you're morning time. I hope you're well, sir.
Doing good.
You tell us how you are, but the first question I've had for the lads is Friday we got the announcement that Ange was relieved of his duties or dismissed or parted ways or however people want to term it. And today is Tuesday, and I've noticed on social media that a lot of people, their stances have changed since Friday and Tuesday. It's only been 5 days. So can I ask you, one, how are you and everything? And two, how was you on Friday? How are you today with the old Tottenham setup?
Yeah, well, first of all, hello. Good to see you guys. Sorry I'm late. That's kind of my trademark, though. So why change it? You know, if that's just how it works. So, but glad to be here, guys. And I hope you're well also. In regards to the news about Ange leaving, I can't say I was terribly surprised, and I'm kind of a take it how it is kind of thing. And after the win, after the Europa League final win, it sort of seemed like he was going to stay. Everything that he was saying um, kind of to me indicated that maybe he had been told he was going to stay. So I just got myself used to that idea. Um, I can kind of get behind whoever. It's Tottenham I support, not really a manager. Um, so I was just kind of preparing for that possibility that he would be here. Um, the fact that he's gone now, I'm not surprised. The writing was on the wall, I think. Just with the sheer amount of losses that we suffered in the league. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine either way. I'm really happy. It does sort of set a bad example, I think, or a bad precedent, maybe. Um, what managers are being told, maybe not vocally, but at least with kind of the way things have been going, is you want as high of a league place finish as possible, and trophies are secondary to that, right or wrong. That's the message I'm getting, and I think that's the message that future coaches, managers will have here. And yeah, I mean, disagree with that or agree with it, but that's just kind of the way it is. And yeah, I was excited that he was maybe going to stay. I've made no secret of the fact that I've been pretty fond of him all along. I did sort of lose patience and stuff throughout the season there, and so I had after the Europa League win, I was like, cool, he's going to stay. Let's see what he can do. But now that he's gone officially, I was upset a bit. Bummer, that's a bummer. I was excited to see what he could do with these guys, but I'm not that mad, I guess. I'm okay with it. So, yeah.
Colin, just one thing, sir. Better to be Colin Sievers late than the late Colin Sievers. Always remember that.
Exactly. I'm gonna start using that. That was good. That's a good one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, you guys. How do y'all feel about it? The firing of Ange.
They've already had their say. It was you that hadn't, so they've already had their say. I think that to lay up, I think both gentlemen beneath have said that they would have liked to him have started the season, and I think this is based on him winning the Europa League. Am I right or wrong, gents? Is that right?
Yeah.
Based on him winning the Europa League. Sorry, based on him winning the Europa League, I think both gentlemen, Ian and Adrian, would like him to have started the season, but I think they both said that they understand football and understand that these things happen. You can see an argument for yes and no, for keeping him and getting dismissing him, and then we move on and we've got to back the next person that comes in, which is basically what I said earlier about the way. If I was to follow what happens on social media, which I don't not follow of, but I'm interested in seeing people's comments and thoughts. I don't rebuttal them. I don't comment on them. I just see how people lie, so to speak. There was a lot of uproar on Friday, and the people, a lot of the people that I saw uproaring on Friday have now sort of like, I don't know, it's the weekend, it's taken them, but they're never going to forget what Ange did for the club. Nobody is. Everyone's going to remember that absolutely magical night in Bilbao on the 21st of May 2025. And then people are also going to remember, and I've got people in the chat. Dan, I know Dan was at the parade. Adrian was at the parade, right? So, and these people went to the parade, and you had 250,000 people at the parade on the 23rd of May. It was two days after the victory, and that was, that's something that Ange and the team had given us as well. So in 48 hours, we've had a winning trophy and an absolutely fantastic parade. And these are memories that will live with everybody, whether Ange is with us or not. They're going to live with everybody. So we all thank him, I think. I think people thanked him for the trophy, for bringing back a trophy and a glory day back to Tottenham's life. And what we had at the parade, but since Friday, we knew that he's gone. Pretty much straight away, gentlemen, I think it was pretty much straight away. Everyone was talking about Frank coming, weren't they? So,
Yeah.
and
Well, just on that, to allay into there's about rinse and repeat. I actually believe, like, if Frank survives pre-season, he might last till Christmas. You know what I
I mean, there's a comment, JJJ. I don't know if I know you, sir or madam, but you know, the point about bringing in a mid-table trophyless manager is a good one. But you know, I think we've got. You know, there's another couple of points you make. I do think if he's the manager, and my attitude on last Friday week or whenever it was, was it just last Friday? Yeah, just last Friday. Was I wasn't happy. I was really unhappy, and I didn't think Frank was the man. But I just think you have to say, if that's what the football people have decided. I mean, Lange's worked with him at Bromby. Then Katashan, if I pronounced that right, appears to have forgotten more about football than a lot of us will ever know put together. And if they've decided that's the man, then that's the man. My choice would have been Glasner by a distance. But if they've decided that's the man, the least I'm going to do is back the guy.
Well, on the rinse and repeat, being serious about it, I mean, you don't pay a £10 million compensation if you're going to give a manager a 2-year contract when he's coming in. So I'd expect a 4-year contract. Maybe they might even do add-ons with managers. I'm not sure they do it now. 4-year with an option, I don't know. But he's not going to be given a short contract. Not when you paid $10 million to get him out of his contract.
So I think Ange was a 3+1. So you do get +1s as well. Sorry, just want to catch up with the chat before we move on, because otherwise I'll fall way behind. Dan says, in my eyes, I'm proud of what my club done, because if they had the emotions of something of these fans in our fan base, we would be relegated next season. JJJ says, let's get more trophies by getting in a 51-year-old trophyless manager. Makes sense, Levy. Daniel's saying, move on and let's get over it. Peter Kagaya says, let's get behind the new manager and see where it takes us. Triple J says, it's now a matter of what do you do when he cracks after
is it not if, as at best, is it not if?
Yeah. After 10 games playing twice a week, he needs a full week to prep his multi-strategy games. He will be cooked when he only gets 2 days now. Yeah, Jose, it's part of our history. But when I got Mutley's already taking the piss out of Thomas Frank already before he's even stepped. It's not everybody, as I said, Dan. I've seen a lot of people turn round towards Thomas Frank. Nigel is here. Good afternoon, Nigel. I hope this finds you well, sir. Hope you and the family are well. Says big up chaps in chat. Great panel. I think Nigel's doing his podcast tonight, 7:30. Him and Dan's regular Tuesday podcast, so people get over there and watch it at 7:30 this evening. Peter Kagaya says, let's hope for our sake Ange doesn't go to another Premier League team. Well, I did say a long time ago, and I don't know what other people think on the panel, but I did say a long time ago, if Ange were to leave Tottenham, I think if Ange wants to continue managing, because I realise his age, but if Ange was to continue managing, I said he would get a job in the top 5 leagues once he left Tottenham. I'm not saying it has to be a top club challenging in the Champions League now. I just said top 5 leagues, and nothing will change my mind on it. What do you guys think?
Who's first?
He's won a trophy. He's got a proven track record. He wins everything in the second season. He'll get a job. Because we know what the merry-go-round's like each season. By the time we get to Christmas, 5 or 6 Premier League managers will probably have lost their jobs. It always happens every year. You'll have those down the relegation zone. They'll panic, get rid of the manager. There's always going to be room for Ange to squeeze in somewhere at a football club. And I'm just talking about the Premier League. I mean, you've got all the other leagues out there. So, this is the 3rd biggest trophy he's won out there. I mean, the hardest trophy to win is the Premier League because it's 38 games. Champions League is 15. Europa League is 15. And people denigrate, it's Europa League. We never played anyone any good. Hang on. It's not a question about how good the teams you are playing, although that is a big part in whether you win it or not. It's also a question. You've got to juggle your squad to fit those games in every 3 days. It's not like the FA Cup and League Cup. When you win a game, you wait for the draw. You don't play for a couple of weeks later or even past that, in different rounds. With the Europa League, it's hard and fast, and you've got to combine it with the Premier League. So it's a hard competition to win. I don't care what anyone says.
What I was going to come in and say is that it will say a lot about Tottenham Hotspur if Ange comes into a job and succeeds and does well. It will say an awful lot about Ange if he comes into a job and fails in the same way as he's, inverted commas, failed at Tottenham. Interesting quote. Sorry, can I just move on to something? Because I've just picked this up on Spurs Express. Really interesting from Heung-min Son. I still have one more year left on the contract. Rather than saying anything at this moment, I think we should all wait and see what happens. But no matter where I end up, I will always do the best I can. It will never change. Now, I've never seen him say anything that remotely suggests he'll be playing anywhere other than Tottenham at any point.
So you got Lee, the Dorset Spur, and I starred his because it's something I wanted to talk about. But good afternoon, Lee. I hope this finds you well. So it says, hey guys, just feel that this summer window will tell us what we need to know of where Spurs are going and if we will see a trophy again. It's all about the board now. Do you know what? I was going to talk about this, and Lee has hit everything that I was going to talk about in a discussion point. So I've highlighted it, and I'll come back to Lee's comment again. JJJ says, but it's the same guys that sat down, so I can't trust them in my opinion. Nita is here. Says, hi, Jose, Adrian, Ian, and Colin, and hi to all in the chat. Right. So with that being said, right. So I was going to touch on this because for me, and I'll open the floor up to you guys, my thoughts, and these are my thoughts, that I'm thinking, is that next Sunday you've got this Club World Championship or whatever they call it starting, right? You've got Man City and Chelsea over there. Quite how Liverpool haven't gone, I'll never know, but they've got them two over there. So they're basically playing all year round, yeah. So I think that someone else commented on this after I thought about this a couple of days ago, but someone commented on Talk Sport, so they're not stealing my thunder because I actually thought about this already. So Tottenham, so you've got teams like Arsenal and Liverpool must be licking their lips because Chelsea and Man City are in that competition. Being in that competition and going all out to win it or actually playing it means that their players are going to get less rest, and it might deter them at some point this season. They might get a dip in their form for the Premiership. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking to myself, whoever the manager is that comes in, and whether it's Thomas, and it's going to be Thomas Frank, it looks like, this is the opportunity, coupled with we just won the Europa League, we have Champions League football coming next season, and it goes back to what Lee's saying as well. Coupled with that, we're in the Champions League, and bearing in mind that Man City and Chelsea are already distracted with this World Club Championship, Tottenham, if we make the right moves in the market and we get the right players in and we have a decent transfer, Tottenham could be up in the shake-up for the fabled top 4 or 5 places because of what Chelsea and Man City are having to go through at the moment. But again, like Lee says, it's all down to the board now. It's all down to what we do. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, Jose, you make a good point, and what I mentioned on Spurs Diehards was the fact that PSG are also in the tournament, and we've got to play them in the Super Cup. It'll be Frank's first game. They'll have played a lot of games. You've had these World Cup qualifiers, so the players won't have a rest through that. A lot of them, a big chunk of them will be playing this World Club Championship. We all see PSG dismantle Inter Milan, didn't we, in that game? But I'm more hopeful because I think their players will be tired. And that game is 3 days before the Premier League starts. It's on a Wednesday the 13th, and I think the Premier League starts on the Saturday following. So I think we've actually got a chance on that. And you're right about the board have got to get their act together for this. I mean, like I want 2 marquee signings. I'm not so concerned about a DM as such, because if we got two midfielders in, if we got 2 out of 3 of say Eze, Xavi, Simons, or then we did get Buemo or Semenyo, 2 out of those 4, I'd be very happy, because Frank plays with a 4-2-3-1 basically. So, and we've seen what we can do with 2 holding midfielders anyway. Away to West Ham when he stanked the players, away to Brentford when we won 2-0, funnily enough, and then away to Bodo Glimt, Frankfurt, and even Man United in the final. Right. So we have no issues with playing to a Frank system. He will adapt this squad quite easily. But you're right about transfers. We've got to go in there now and take advantage of what we can spend. I don't know how much that is, but it should be a substantial amount, in my opinion.
Colin, are you still there? Are you still there, Colin?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What are your thoughts then, mate, on what I've just said with the Chelsea, Man City, and especially with what I'm thinking more along what Lee says. It's now down onto the board. Because he says just the feel that the summer window will tell us what we need to know of where Spurs are going, if we will see a trophy again. It's all about the board now. And to me, I totally agree. What are your thoughts, mate?
I mean, I agree as well. I don't know. I don't know what could happen that would signify to me that there's been a change, other than getting some players in that the manager wants. It's tough. I'm interested to see whether the manager gets to make any decisions for himself. I mean, there's clearly going to be players brought in. Well, I guess I can't even say that for sure. I assume there's going to be players brought in. I assume there's going to be players leaving. Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be tough to tell whether they're players that the manager himself has wanted or identified, or if there will be players that have kind of been picked out for him. That the board have deemed to be good deals, gettable players, things like that. Yeah, I honestly don't know, aside from a couple of marquee signings, what would signify to me if there's been a change on, with the way that the board is approaching things and handling things. I don't know about you guys, but it's been clear to me for, and I'm not a genius, so it's probably clear to everybody else too, that finishing in those Champions League places is the end goal, is the main goal here. So.
With the board, Colin, I think the interesting person on the board now is it Peter? Is Charrington anyway?
Charrington, yeah.
Is it Peter? His first name?
No.
He's
XCO.
whatever his first name is, Mr. Charrington. He's a Bahamian resident. He's a close confidant and advisor to Joe Lewis. He is the trusts, as in the ENIC trusts, Lewis's trusts, representative on the board. What is he there for? Is he there just to mind the shop? Doubt it. I doubt that. Is he there to see if more money should be pumped in, because there's been rumours of that? Or is he there to try and dispose and to work for the disposal of some of the shares? And if that's the case, who that might be to, and whether they're bringing fresh money into the transfer market. I mean, it's right. Someone said that Ange had been given £400 million. That doesn't sound right to me.
No.
Is it right?
No, not 400 million.
I can't work those numbers out. I mean,
you mean Frank has been given? Are you talking about transfer fund, or are you talking about Ange?
Well, he spent £400 million. It won't be net.
No, look. Let's shoot that fox once and for all. I mean, like a manager comes in like Frank, for example. He may be given 1 or 2 players, right? But recruitment, we get this argument with fans because they have different agendas all the time. If you don't like a manager, he spent the money. He doesn't. In fact, every signing at a football club, no matter what football club, is really a club signing. And the manager consents or agrees to them, right? You look at Conte, he didn't want Spence, he didn't play him. Conte was a club signing, right? You could name others that have come in. Rodon was a club signing, right? You could name loads like that in the past. They're generally all club signings, but usually to sweeten the pot to attract a new manager, you give him one or 2. So I think Frank will get his marquee signing. He might only get 1. We all want more than 1. I hope it's Eze more than any of the others, as it happens. Although I really like Simmons if it isn't him, for the midfield spot, that is. Then you've got the winger Semenyo and Buemo. I actually
What-
think Firmino's a better
Well,
choice.
what I was going to say, Adrian, before you came in there, was if, for example, the delay in announcing
Frank.
Thomas Frank isn't Daniel Levy's usually haggling over 2.5 pence for the compensation, which it probably is, and isn't over the number of or the names or identities of the backroom staff that he's bringing, but we're actually trying to negotiate a deal, for example, to include in the whole package and get it done in one foul swoop, and Wemo, because nothing's gone quiet with him with Man United and Wizza, for example. I mean, I'm not saying I've got any information. I've heard no rumour to that effect at all. But if that was the kind of thing that was going on, then I would say the board's showing ambition. Maybe we are going to move on. Because I think Andrew made a fundamental point about the clubs being tired, that are going to this. The players aren't getting any rest again.
Well, the Tottenham players are. The Tottenham players are getting rest.
No, I'm talking about Man City. I'm talking about Chelsea. I'm talking about who else is going.
PSG, Real Madrid, all the top clubs in Europe.
No, the only two English clubs that have been invited are them two. It's the same as in Spain. It's only Atletico and Real that have been invited, and Barcelona are not. So I don't know how they've worked it out, who gets to go and doesn't. But Brazil as a nation have got 3 teams going. So
Four, I think. 4, but it's their competition. They inaugurate this competition. So I think they get extra spots.
They got Flamengo, Fluminense, and one other. I didn't think they had 4. I thought they had 3 going. But regardless, I mean, I don't know how RB Salzburg have made it into that competition. So I don't know how they've come up with it, because it can't be coefficient points, because otherwise there's teams that are higher than some of the teams that are in there. Anyway, without that, right, you guys are still on transfers. You guys, Adrian, especially you have a good crack at this all the time, right? About transfers and about how much money we might have to spend and whatnot, right? Now, I don't know how much Tottenham have got to spend, and I'll never say that I do, but I always find that we probably do spend money, but we spend it on not on the right players type thing. And it's interesting because I look at the signings. I'm going to take Man City, for instance, right? Man City is probably one of the richest clubs in the world, and I don't think anyone can argue with that, right? But how are Man City going out and buying players like Aït-Nouri, Reinders, Haaland that they've already bought before, all these players that they're buying, and they're not spending more than 30-odd million, 40 million for a player, where everyone else is going out and buying players and spending real top money and spending a lot of their pot on players for a lot more money. And Man City, one of the richest clubs in the world, don't seem to be spending nowhere near the amount of money that other people do and get more players in. Now, for Tottenham, sorry, do you know what? Before I carry on, let me just say hello, because people have popped in, right? So you've got, Jess says, good luck to Spurs this season, and Frank, come on, you Spurs. Jess was one of the people that said all along that Andrew would win something at Tottenham. She maintained this throughout the whole of her time on her channel. I think she's a clairvoyant. So Jess had a good season last year because Leeds were promoted as champions. Liverpool won the Premiership, and she obviously got a little spot for Tottenham as well. And Tottenham ended up with the Europa League. So Jess said it all along. Johnny says, oi, oi, legends, evening. Good evening to you, Johnny. I hope this finds you well. Side Dancer says, afternoon, Jose and everyone. Good afternoon, Side. I hope this finds you well. So what I was going to, as I was saying to you guys, Adrian, if we've got, and I'm going to ask you first, and we'll go around, if we have £200 million to spend, right? I keep hearing the word amortization. I keep hearing people say this, right? Normally it's a 5-year deal, so you can monetize the package over 5 years, right? So I'm going to say, for argument's sake, a player's going to cost £60 million, all right? So at the moment, we're linked with Brathwaite, Eze, Mbeumo, Semenyo, and if you want, I'm going to throw Xavi Simons in there, right? Let's say all them players cost 60 million each, which they won't. Some will, some won't. That's £300 million, right? So if it was monetized over 5 years, does that mean them 5 players will cost you £60 million?
No. The thing with the Eze deal is that Palace would want their 68 million pound paid up front. So
Okay.
it's like raising the capital. Most other deals, you agree a down payment with the selling club, and you amortise the rest of that over the length of the contract, which is usually 5 years. But it has to be maximum 5 years under Premier League rules. So if you put 20 mil down on a player, then in the next 5 years you've got to pay off the other 40 mil, which is 8 million a year. But that goes on to your transfer and transfer fee debt, which was at 337 million for Spurs. I've heard all sorts of things. That was the last figure we got off of Kieran Maguire, and I trust him.
Is that including us selling Kane? Because
No.
Kane's gone for nearly 100 million. So if you're saying that the deficit's 370 or whatever it was, 336, is Kane's money not being factored into that then?
Well, that money would have gone on that year's accounts, but that's still amortised, and we'll get whatever the agreement is over 5 years for the Kane fee. When people say, "Oh, you've got that money, spend it," Bayern haven't given us all that money in one lump. You know, you can still spend. You can still spend. I mean, this is my other argument with Enoch is you've earned a fortune since you bought your investment in a club. Put some money back in, because you're still not losing. Even when they sell the club or they sell a large chunk of their shares, they're not going to lose money, so put some money in. I think the max we can spend when I looked at a report was about 250 mil.
Is that before we qualified? Sorry, Edward, can I just quantify some of this? The last report you looked at, was that pre us qualifying for the Champions League?
Yeah.
Okay, so therefore there's also you've got some manoeuvrability there, because you know that you're going to play, is it 8 games in the league stages in the Champions League? So you know you play 8 games in the league stages. You know you're going to get the revenue from TV for qualifying for the Champions League and stuff like that. So whatever you're talking about, there must be extra money if you just look at Champions League, the first group stages alone.
It doesn't matter what money you earn. The maximum what you could spend on the rules is the maximum you can spend on the rules. So if it is 250, which I read, I don't mind if it's 200 actually, because we've averaged about 120 mil every year since the stadium's opened, right? But look, 120 mil, you can put 30 mil down on 4 players. You know, so it's like the massive total, although it looks good, right? I mean, that's what we can spend. I mean, we are estimated to get 90 million in from 8 games. We've earned about 40 million for playing in the Super Cup, 130 million. Admittedly, we've had to pay off Danso, the 21 million on him. Well worth it, in my opinion. But there's still enough money there to have a good transfer window, to put down payments down, whatever the true figures are. I mean, like, you hear different reports from other sources, but I trust Kieran Maguire. Now, I don't know if that 337 million that we owed on players' transfer fees, agents' fees, paying off ex-managers, was reduced at the end of, some of it was amortised at the end of April when the accounts have to be shown. So you might have had 50 mil taken off that. I don't know.
So basically, then the question I'm asking the 3 of you is going back on what Lee Dorset Spurs said, right? So without Lee knowing my thoughts were we were undercooked this season by 5 players. So that means at the end of the season we were still undercooked by 5. We've now qualified for the Champions League, so we're going to be even more undercooked than what we were this season, in my eyes. So it's now down to the board. What are they going to do? Are we going to get these players in or not? What are your feelings? What are your feelings?
What I'm asking you guys. Should be doing, I mean, I don't want to get palmed off with one marquee. Get Eze in and get one of Buemo or Semenyo in. And then if you want a defensive midfielder, go and get one. The money's there to get 3 of those in. You can't tell me the money's not there, right?
Well, Levy said we had to spend to buy.
Yeah, this was before we qualified for the Champions League. I mean, like, we can look, the time to do the borrowing or whatever and getting the cash in is now. Strike while the iron top. We're in the Champions League, because at present with this squad, we're not winning the Champions League. But you get Maddison in. If you don't get Buemo, you get Semenyo in, and you get a DM in. If Frank wants one, because he plays with a pivot, if he wants one, I'm not too concerned about the defence. We've got enough centre backs. Romero's going nowhere. Atletico Madrid have got no money, right? He'll be offered probably a contract of 250k a year, right? And if it's done at 200k a year, they'll give him a big signing on fee, so they don't have to break the wage structure to 200 million. And I'm not worried about paying these players money, wages, right? Because if you can give Werner 170 grand a week, right, you can give these players 200 grand a week, as far as I'm concerned, right? And a signing on fee if they really wanted a lot more to get around the pay structure. If you want to keep your pay structure at 200k,
I disagree with you completely.
Fair enough.
I don't think this board will do that under Levy. This will not happen. And I think what you're looking at is the role, as I said, that Charrington is playing. Whether there keeps being rumours of new investment. I actually spoke to Chang and Eugene yesterday about this rumours of Petronas, the Malaysian company, and both of them said there's put it this way, politically it would be very, very difficult while things are tough in Malaysia for the Malaysian government, and this company's government controlled, to be spending billions on an English football team. So I have my doubts about that, as we say in Scotland. But
I agree with that, Ian, because you're not going to get an investor in before this transfer window closes. You're not. There's no sign of it happening. So the money's not going to. So this is why ENIC have made a massive profit on their equity at Spurs, right? They should either put some money in. If cash is a bit strapped through the Spurs accounts, they should put some money in, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but hang on. You don't know nothing's happening. This is something that will just get announced when it's done. So it could, there could be something at 10 o'clock. My hope is that it's something that does actually come at the end of the transfer window, and they've been keeping it all under wraps so that clubs don't know that we actually have zillions to spend, and we'll just spend millions and then suddenly say, oh, well, we spent millions. But I keep having my glass half full, and Levy keeps emptying it out for me. So, but if things are as Levy says, then we won't be spending net any more money than we bring in. And we will not be ready. And you're tying one of Frank's arms behind his back before he starts. And that's criminal.
I get your angle, but
can we let Colin come in, because he hasn't spoken? Colin, what are your thoughts on everything the gentleman is saying and what I asked earlier?
Well, I don't know. Unless there's a big change happening, I don't suddenly see things. I guess unless there's a big change happening with regards to Daniel Levy's position, just in and of itself. I mean, I guess unless there's a big change happening with ownership completely, I don't see much changing. I see this being another season similar to seasons past, where we spend and relatively to the other clubs around us. I mean, we spend a great deal, but I don't see this season being one that's, I don't know. I just don't see things changing much with ENIC in charge, with ENIC running the show. If the club were to be sold, I can, you would imagine that things would change, things would be different. I guess there's no guarantee of that either. If the new owners wanted to run a similarly, tight ship, but I just can't see it. And I mean, the rumors coming out about players we're going for haven't exactly been that much different, I don't think, than seasons past either. I mean, I don't know. And for me, bringing in Thomas Frank, I think that one of the main reasons that Levy likes him is because he's been able to get by with spending so little. I think I saw a stat that said he was the manager that's got in Premier League history that's gotten the most points with the lowest wage bill. And I think that just was music to Daniel Levy's ears. I think that he'll be asked to overperform with regards to wages and net spend. And I think that I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But I just think that it'll be more of the same. I think that top 6, top 4 especially would be a wonderful, wonderful season. And I don't see, I think that they are gearing up for a sale. And I think as such, they want everything to be as profitable as possible until that point. And so unless the club is sold, you know what I mean? I don't see anything crazy happening. And And I think that Frank, like I said, Frank's shown he can get by with so little. He can overperform with regards to like what other, teams around him are spending and the position that he ends up in. To me, those two things together just sort of signifies to me that everything's going to remain the same.
The thing is, though, if you're not going to go big in a year when you're in the Champions League, when are you going to go big? And to sort of like caveat that, right, you're going to make 90 million from the Champions League. If you're a business and you've got lots of orders on your books, you can go to your bank and you can borrow against it. So I'm not having this cash flow rubbish thrown at me that the club can't do this and can't do that. They can if they've got the will to do it. And now we're going to see if they've got the will to do it, because you can borrow against that money. All right, if we went in big in this window and it meant we were putting down payments of players, and you forget, and if you bought 360 million pound players and you put 20, 30 mil down on each, the rest of that money goes back on that 337 million. So the next year you might be hindered by your total of what you can expend, because that amount will have grown, right, under the rules. But, the time to go is now. The time to go is now, and to back Frank. About time we backed a manager. We didn't back Ange. He was only given one oven ready player in Solanke. Time to back a manager in the Champions League. When are you going to get a better chance? Because we're not winning it with this squad, and we're not winning the Premier League with this squad.
Couldn't we have said that, though, after we made it to the Champions League final that year? Couldn't we have said that the next year was the year to spend? I definitely think you're right, for what it's worth. I think that we should. I think the time is now, but it's been the time for a while, and it just never happens. And so I guess I'm protecting myself and not getting too excited. But I also think that if you're just going by previous years and kind of seeing the trend and things, I don't know. I just, it's hard for me to see it.
Right. So with that, I'm going to hold that thought, Colin, for a second. You've got the doctors here. Gus says, go on the cockerel. So you've got Gus here. Good afternoon, Gus. I hope you're well. You've got Drula here. Says, afternoon, Jose, Adrian, Ian, and the cockerel crew. And this says, sorry, and Colin. And then Ronnie has also just joined us and says, big up. Good afternoon, Ronnie, Drula, and the doctor. I hope that you are all well. So what Colin said, right? Colin turned around and said quite clearly, and it's interesting because was it, and I'll ask you guys because my memory sometimes goes to pot, right? Was it after the Champions League final? Did Pochettino make his comments after the Champions League final where he said about we've got a lovely house with no furniture? Did he say it after the Champions League final, or was it before? And when did we go 585 days without buying someone?
518 days, yeah.
Okay, 518 or whatever.
In November, wasn't he? So after the Champions League, because everyone was conflating the losses in the previous season. It always gets me when people conflate seasons.
So June 18, 1st of June 1918 was when we were in. 2018, 1918. Where am I coming from? 1st of June 2018, Champions League final. We lose to Liverpool 2-0. In the November of 18 is when they let go of Poch, right? So when did we not spend any money then for the 518 days?
You mentioned it before, didn't he? Because the 518 days is a clue. By the time you left in November, that's only a few months. That 580 days goes back way before we got to that Champions League final.
Okay.
And during that period, it was rumoured he was offered players and he turned them down because they weren't the players he wanted. He obviously didn't think they were good enough, which must have been music to leave his ears, right? Not spending money, right? So, no, he wasn't back because he put all his eggs in a basket with the stadium.
Right. So Colin, what Colin said then is Colin said when it was time to shoot and jump, right, after that Champions League final, right, we didn't. Right. So I think we're exactly in that same position again. It's not, we've actually won the trophy this time. We've won the Europa League. The momentum should be with us. I've already explained about two teams playing in the Club World Cup. I've not even included in my thought process, I've not even included what I think is going to happen to Aston Villa, whereby Villa I think are going to have to sell players, and they're sailing so close to the wind that they're going to have to be letting some of their better players leave, right? And they won't be the only club. There'll be other clubs as well that we have to get on the right side of that favourite PSR or whatever. So therefore, this should be the time for us to say, yes, we are going to be serious. We do need to move on. But
Sorry,
on
Hunter.
the chessboard, on that chessboard though that we've got, which is Tottenham Hotspur, we've got a load of pawns on there. We've got every piece on there, and you need some of the pieces to stand up and be counted, in my eyes, in order to do this. Sorry, Ian, go on.
No, not me apologising for interrupting. What I was going to say, yeah, we need improvements. I mean, find me a football fan that doesn't want their club to sign more better players. You won't find one. But take Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Liverpool out of the equation, and then say even the current squad, and this is where I think people are disappointed with Ange. The current squad, fully fit, is at least as good, if not better, than Aston Villa's. And you made a really good point about them having to sell players that will probably weaken them. Ollie Watkins, anybody? Yes, please. Ex-Brentford player? Yes, please. We got as good a squad as Aston Villa? At least as good. Have we got as good a squad as Newcastle? I think we have as well. So 5th place is there. If we're coached, if we play well, and if we buy another couple of players, we should be able to do that comfortably.
So you think a couple in? I think we're way off, man. I really do. I think that we need more than a couple, in my eyes. I really do.
Well, it depends on how many go out the door. I don't think we've got a problem in our defensive line at all. And when you look at the fact we've signed Davis again, that's controversial, but he gives valuable experience, particularly in games like League Cups and maybe coming on to shore things up late on. You've got Dragusin coming back. I couldn't agree more about Danso. I think he's a superb signing for the money. Romero is still there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm playing on the basis he stood up. Van der Ven is still there. Vuskovic is coming in, and we'll see whether he's first team ready or not.
He made his first appearance for Croatia, come off the subs bench last night.
For Croatia.
Last night, he came off the subs bench in the 87th minute.
You would think, I mean, obviously the Premier League is a tough physical league, and it may be he goes into the Championship for a year's experience. I don't know. But you've still got Phillips and you've still got Dorrington. So, if we're going to punt those players out, or some of those players out permanently because they're not going to make it, then fine. Otherwise, we're more than covered. We've got Spence, Porro, Udogie, and I think Porro and Udogie will really cook under Thomas Frank. I'd bring us back up. I'd bring not Wright Phillips. What's his name? Carl Walker Peters in from Southampton on a free. Don't think you got a problem in the defence. Now, depends on what formation he's going to play. Whether he's going to play 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 or whatever. But you've got Bentancur, Bergvall, Gray, and Bergvall and Gray are going to have benefited enormously. You've got Bissouma, so you've got 4 players there competing for as maximum of two positions. If you want to say we want at least one more in, then you've got to get at least one out. But I don't think that's a bad midfield 4. I think where I think we need to strengthen. And if you said all those players were staying, I wouldn't be particularly worried. I think they're better coached. They'll achieve better results. Madison, Kulusevski, I think we need a better real creative number 10. And it'd be interesting to see how he plays Bergvall this year. Might play him further forward. Then you start talking about the attack. I think we need to back up for Solanke. We need an improvement probably on Johnson, but he tried to sign Johnson. So he might have other ideas about how he might play. But you've still got Tell, Yang, Moore, Audebert, Son at the moment. So you've got a lot of players there for those positions. So if they're not up to it, in the manager's opinion, then you punt and you bring in replacements. I personally think if we brought in backup and include backup and potential starters, I mean, my ideal would be you bring in Edzzy, Mbeumo, somebody up top to back up Solanke and a more creative midfield player. Personally, I don't know that Kulusevski's going to fit the way that that Frank is going to want to play. My problem with Kulusevski is 2.5 years on, I still don't know, is he fish or fowl? Is he a wide right player without pace? Is he a midfield player with good upper body strength, but not the kind of creativity you want from a top player? So I think there's players that can be punted to raise money to bring in other players. But I think if we could get 3 or 4 in, I think 3 or 4 of the right players paying the right wages, I think we could go a long way.
I agree, but if I was looking at coldly without Frank, I would say we needed 7 players. I'd say we need another striker, a right winger, 3 midfielders, a left centre back, and a left back. But here's the proviso: as you said about defenders, we got enough defenders, right? I think Davies. Now, cynically, you can look at the Davies extra year extension. You say, "Oh, we've got him on an extension because other clubs are interested, and we'll be able to sell him and get a few quid for him." Or, if you're a bit more positive, you can think about it in a different way. Yeah, we're giving Davies the extra contract because we're limited with our transfer funds. We don't want to spend money on a centre back, right? So we keep Davies as backup for VDV, right? And you can. I don't like using the term backup with Tottenham Hotspur, but he would. Right, he would be, right? So that's that out of the way. With the midfielders, we don't agree with Ian about getting rid of one because it's a 25-man squad. And if you've got 22 players, that's 2 11s. The extra goalkeeper gives you 23. That gives you 2 extra spaces. I want a midfield. I've always been a believer. I've always thought when I was coach, most games are won and lost in midfield. So although we need 6 midfielders, in theory, a 3 and a spare 3, I don't mind going with 8. Right? I would go with 8.
So can I just ask you a question, Adrian, on the midfield then? Sorry, it's only because you mentioned midfield. So last season, a lot of the fans, right, were saying some of our midfielders are crap. They're not turning up to the badge. They're not playing, blah, 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 blah. Now are we saying that just because of a change of manager, that our midfielders are now good enough to stay? Because there was a lot of heat on people like Bissouma last season.
No, I would get rid of Bissouma. I've always said I'd get rid of Bissouma or Charlison. But what you've got to go back now and hear what Frank has said in previous press conferences, whether he's saying it because most managers won't slag off players at other teams anyway and just praise them for the sake of praising them, right? He's actually said he's praised Bissouma, right? And maybe he could get a better tune out of him. I'm not convinced with Bissouma's late excellent performances for us in the tail end of the season. Not convinced because he's had all season to prove it, right? Same with Richie, made of glass. But Frank's all-time record of saying how much he liked Richie. And Johnny Ham was saying on a last show we were on, he doesn't think. I said, well, Richie, the situation, Richie's not clear now. And Johnny Ham said, well, he's not going. So Frank likes him. So Richarlison may be staying, right? Don't mind that. Right, if we're going to get 2 marquee signings in midfield, like Eze and the wide player, either Semenyo or Mbeumo, because that would be good. And then you pick your choice. Did he really mean what he said, Bissouma and all that? Or is he going to keep him? If he does, it doesn't stop us from still bringing in a couple of, another midfielder. If you brought Eze, and we've still got room to bring in a DM if we need to. And I agree with Ian. If you do this transfer window right and you get 3 or 4 in, that could absolutely transform us because this squad is underperformed so badly that, I just think, and you look at it, and out of their midfielders, right, when you're looking at it, you've got Decky, who's classed as a midfielder, can go out on the right for certain games, away games at home when you need to have more of the ball and hold it up and someone help you hold it up. Decky could go back out on the right wing, can't he? So that moves one midfielder. And with Gray could help you out left back, right back or centre back and as DM because if he can play well at right back, centre back and left back, to me, it means that, all right, DM is a very specialised position. You've got to stop the opposing number 10 for playing through the lines and key things and break plays up and spread play, blah, blah, blah. But he's shown against that first half against Brighton at home, he showed he's got the vision and the touches. He can move the ball quickly. I like Gray. He's not as sexy as Bergvall, but to look at on the eye. But I like Gray. Yeah, so I would definitely get in Eze, probably. Don't think we can get Simons in, be fair about it. Although I think Simons would be cheaper. But then you see, then we've got to talk about the foreign quota, Jose, because at the moment we're only allowed, because Whiteman's gone, we only allowed 23 in the European squad last season. Now it's down to 22, unless we bring in a Carl Walker-Peters, right, who could do a job at left back or right back, which would be an easy deal to do. So as we're back to 23 again, which isn't too bad for Europe, because as I've just previously said, that gives you 11 teams and the extra goalkeeper. So you've got that. But the issue we've got is the 14 at the moment. Instead of having 17 foreign players in that Champions League squad, we're only allowed 14. And I don't want to do the count until we know what the shape of the squad is going into the new season, because we don't know that yet. Yeah, and what's your take on that?
No, I'm laughing because Jose's gone. I have to actually have to go. It's nearly 6:30 here, and I need to feed my good lady. And the host has gone, and Colin's gone, and I can't leave you all.
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm here as well.
We're
Sorry.
both here.
Yeah, look, listen, I really do need to go. I was a last minute call up, whether you had someone call off or you just suddenly.
No, we didn't. We didn't have no one call off. Adrian just said,
I just got a message from Adrian. Can you come on now? And it's like, okay, but I've done just.
That was my idea.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for coming on here.
Hey, it was nice seeing you, Ian. Yeah, have a good day, sir.
Have a good night, everybody. Let's see if the evening brings us some news as well.
Before you go, Ian, I've set up Sunday's show for it. The only title of it is The Frank Effect, the Thomas Frank Effect. That's
okay.
That'll give you plenty of ideas for banners, right? So
the Thomas Frank Affair. Let's see what shows we need to do this week. I'll catch up with you later.
All right,
take care. Have a good one, buddy.
We've got people. Someone asked a question. Dan Rinketic is here, so good afternoon, Rinketic. I hope you are well, sir.
Hey, what's up?
I hope he's all well. Right, so Rinketic. So with everything that was being said, Colin, because the two elder statesmen certainly had a good go at it all. Right, with what they were saying, right, have I lost that comment? I have as well. I've lost a comment. There was a comment here that came in from X, from a chap on X, and I've now lost it. Anyway, from what the two gentlemen were saying, have you got any thoughts on it with regards to what they were saying?
Well, you mean like as far as possible incoming players and
and all that, yeah. It all started with your comment initially. Took it to the two boys because you know, and they've now moved it on a pace.
I guess to be honest, it all depends on what the actual goal for this season is. You know, I think that if the goal is to just get ourselves back into the top four, I don't think that that there are as many signings needed as there would be if we were actually trying to have a good push in the Champions League. You know, I think that if the goal is kind of just to improve on last season, to get us back into the top half of the table and make a push for the Champions League spots, then I think that we could get by with just a couple players. You know, I do think that with the way that Thomas Frank likes to line up, the way that he likes to play, well, that's another cool thing about him is he doesn't have. He's fine to adapt to what he's got, and I think that's going to be very beneficial to us. I think that he's going to be able to get a tune out of some players that didn't thrive under Ange. I think that Bissouma could be really good. I think Bissouma could be great under Thomas Frank. I really do. But anyway, I mean, yeah, until we know, and we probably will never get, I mean, we're never going to get told one way or the other, but depending on what the goal for this season is, you know, that's gonna determine who we bring in and, you know, the amount of money spent. And so I'm not sure. Say that we do want to have a push in the Champions League, then yeah, we're going to need to bring in probably five players. But if, like I said, if the goal is just to right the ship, get us back kind of where we used to be, I don't know, two really good signings, maybe a third like kind of depth signing, I think could do that, no problem. So, and I don't know. I can't decide what I think is going to be the aim for this season. But I will say the appointment of Thomas Frank doesn't fill me with great hope. But maybe that's just me looking at things kind of cynically. You know, he is a good manager, and how he was able to perform at Brentford with the means available to him. Maybe if you scale that up to the means available to him here, maybe he could really do something. That's not impossible. I don't know. I mean, do you feel like Frank was brought in just because what he's able to do on a shoestring budget that appealed to Levy, and and there's not much more hope besides getting us back into the top half of the table and pushing for a top 4 place? That's where I am. Is I just don't know. But I'm just not filled with hope at this point.
One of my favourite sayings: "Hope is not a strategy." Right? Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah.
But my take on that is, as it stands, because we don't know what the shape of the squad is going to be going into the new season after the transfer window closes. As it stands, I would take 6th or 7th in the Europa League again, because rather than the Champions League. Even though Levy would like that for the extra money, because we can win this Europa League, right? We can win it. We can win it, and in the league, so that means finishing 6th or 7th minimum, and then you look at the domestic cups, because as it stands now, we're not winning the Premier League or the Champions League. So you've got to look at the FA Cup, 6 games to win it, League Cup, 7 games to win it, because you've got a 2-legged semi-final, and go for them. So that should be the objective. Now, the club won't want to hear that from Frank, because they want to hear that you're going to try and win the Champions League and win the Premier League. But realistically, we know that's not going to happen. So
do they want to hear that from Frank? Do they want to hear that he's going to be pushing as hard as he can in the Champions League and perhaps then, risking league form for that? Because you know what I mean.
Otherwise, you're a manager coming in not showing enough ambition, and your managers have been sacked for that.
Here though, at Tottenham, have they been? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if how much ambition Daniel Levy has to do that, to compete on both fronts. I don't think, obviously, if we won the Champions League, that'd be incredible for just not even the money, but for exposure, and bringing new fans on board, and possibly, I don't know. I'm sort of disillusioned with Levy, and I'm not sure what his goals are other than making us profitable. And I don't know. I'm not sure. I think he'd be happy enough just to qualify for the Champions League every season, but then to crash out, early on. And because we still get the money regardless.
He would be happy with the Champions League. I'm just saying what I would be happy with. I would be unhappy if we qualified the Europa League again, because I think any time we're in that competition, a club our size should be able to win it.
Especially with the new format, with no Champions League teams dropping down.
Yeah, let's not put in too much pressure on Frank to finish 6th or 7th. And we know we will get players in, but we don't know who is yet. And so then you're looking at domestic cups. I think the Spurs fans would love another FA Cup. 6 games in that. It's down to the draw. It can be, look, the domestic cups can be a hard competition. Some people say, they're harder than the Europa League. Well, you don't know what the draw is going to bring. You can actually virtually get to the final without meeting a hard team if the draw goes your way. All the big teams, our rivals, our main rivals, could knock themselves out, and you're only going to meet one of them in the final. So, and it can be the same in the League Cup, except this year's League Cup, we met every tough team we could possibly meet. We met Man United, Man City, and Liverpool, whatever. So, yeah. And then we got Villa away in the FA Cup. So, but you're not always going to get a draw like that. Yeah,
Ellie says, hello lads, Jose Cole and Adrian, big up. Sorry I couldn't join you. I mowed my lawn and I'm done in. Because I did ask Ellie if she wanted to come on, but she didn't get back to me, so she's now told me because she doesn't respond to me on the phone. And Lee Wiz is here, says, congratulations champions, and he's a 9-month member sticker. Good evening, Lee. I hope you are well, sir. Yeah, sorry, as you guys were saying, I understand totally where you're coming from, Colin. It's whether they've taken him on because of his coaching ability, or have they taken him on because he can work in a really tight budget, which is what Levy would love? So it's a case of, I think the answer, Colin, lies between amongst it all sort of type thing. I think
Right.
he's known to be a good coach. There's no getting away from it. You speak to people within the game, and they say he's a very good coach. Now, if you become a manager, coach, however you want to call it, if you become one of those in the Premiership, then you must have served your time somewhere. People don't become Premiership managers overnight. You must have served your time somewhere. So I think the answer to what you're saying, Colin, and your reservations lies somewhere in between, I would have thought. Because there's no doubt he's a good coach, but then I do understand your reservations, Colin, about, you know, the working and operating within tight budgets and that. But there's a lot of people within the football world and stuff like that that will tell you that he's a really good coach and he coaches players to become better players. So there's a lot.
And Langer's had a big part in getting Thomas Frank in, Johan Langer, because him and Thomas Frank were both coaches at a Danish club called Lyngby, or Dingby. No, it's Dingby actually. Although although he's got limited experience with Brøndby, qualifying rounds and that. So there is a connection. There's a strong connection between Johan Langer and his director of football. So it is part of his job of bringing Lang in. And it's also noticeable regarding the coaching setup that Milo Jedinek, Nick Montgomery, and Serge Romando have been sacked. So those three have gone to make room for Lange's.
Have they though, Adrian? Because
they have.
Okay.
They've definitely gone.
I was told.
Robert Villaham's gone for the women's team as well. It's been a long night.
Okay, but Villaham's been announced. That I know because it's been announced. Andrew's gone. It's been announced.
Yeah.
Donna Marie Cullen's gone. Announced.
Yeah.
Ryan Mason's left. Announced. I don't see announcements for all the other people.
And he's put Stuart Lewis with him, the under-18s coach.
Yeah,
Scott Munn's gone or going.
Okay, right. So that's what I mean.
They've gone. Those three coaches have gone. There's been a lot that have gone. They've gone.
But there's no announcements on this, though, Adrian. If there is, I've not seen the announcements.
Yeah, there is. I'm sure.
I've seen people say that they think that. I've seen people say that they've gone, that they're going because Frank's coming in, but I've not seen the club make an announcement to say they've let Raimundo Montgomery and Jedinak go. I've not seen the club make that statement.
They've gone.
Where did you see that, Adrian?
I've seen it on more than one source. I've seen it more.
Dan's also saying there, look, Jose, they've definitely gone, mate. I've seen it. Can someone let me know? Because I've not seen it on any Tottenham official stuff. The others I've seen it all on the official stuff, but I've not seen anything with regards to the coaches that we're talking about. And Drula, flexing a 9-month member back chat, says all aboard Thomas the Frank engine. Choo. It weren't going to be long. It weren't going to be long before that happened. Are you aware that they've got a kiddies program over here, Colin, and it's called Thomas the Tank Engine?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that one. Yeah,
you are familiar with it. Okay, so I was going to say because it's just some English humour, and I was just wondering whether you guys knew about the Thomas the Tank Engine that's over here.
Oh yeah, I forgot that everyone on that show's British. You know what I mean? I forgot about the accents, but yeah, I watched that show when I was a youngin'.
Because they've got the trains, and what they've done is they've got faces on the trains. Well, they've now superimposed Thomas Frank. I've seen that doing the rounds on Twitter. They've superimposed Thomas Frank's picture onto the front of the locomotive. And,
I love it.
Thomas
Good stuff.
But so I understand totally where Colin was coming from, because it was Colin that made the comment. I understand where you come from, but as I said, I think it lies somewhere in between. I think he can operate under Levy stuff. Probably appealing to Levy and stuff like that.
It's never a bad thing whenever you can operate within a tighter budget, and clearly he's going to have a higher budget than he had at Brentford when he's here. So I guess if you scale it up, then that is a good sign. That bodes really well for us and how we could do this season. But
But
yeah,
then the
I
coaching
want him.
side, Colin, that doesn't change. If you're a good coach, you're a good coach.
Right. That's very true. Absolutely.
So therefore, I understand what you're saying about the upscaling because of the budgets and that, but there's also the fundamental part is that he is supposedly a top coach, and if that's the case, Ian or Adrian said earlier that I think it was Ian, with some coaching, this squad that we've got in Ian's belief was it's not as bad as what 17th is, and if anything, we should be on a par with Villa and Newcastle with the squad that we've got. Just needs coaching more.
Yeah,
I think
I buy it.
definitely staying. I mean, a lot of fans wanted him gone. You got Bergvall in. He's instrumental in getting Thomas in, Thomas Frank in. There are others he's got in. He's been involved in as well. I think he's staying. The rumor is he would have more to do with bringing in the very younger type players, the academy type players. And if Paratici does come in as a role, nothing's been confirmed because he's got another court case in Italy.
Right, so that's what I was just about to say to you. So the rumor mill was that Paratici was coming back, right? Now the rumor mill went on to Paratici is coming back, but it won't be on a full-time basis. It will still be on a consultancy role because he's got other matters to deal with still in Italy. Now I'm hearing the latest is that Paratici to Tottenham may not be a done deal because other clubs are talking to him.
Huh.
Well, it was the what was it, the Napoli thing before, wasn't it? He was going to, wasn't it, Napoli?
No, AC Milan, and it fell through last week.
That fell through for reasons. So if it's a European issue, not a Premier League issue, then he's got to face something out there. Then he'll probably come to us, and nothing stops him from staying as a consultant. There's nothing to stop him. You can't restrict his trade. I don't know what these other court cases are, whether they're criminal or not. But if they're involving him, surely they involve Juventus as well.
But I'm talking about what the goalposts have now moved. So Paratici was coming. Paratici can come back. Is not guaranteed because he's got stuff to deal with. So he might be consultancy before he's full time again. And now it's moved to Paratici may not even come back to Tottenham because other clubs are talking to him. So it just shows that depends what source you look at, you're hearing different stories.
I wonder. It doesn't seem like Thomas Frank was a manager that, I don't see Paratici's name all over that one.
He was Paratici. Frank was on Paratici's list.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Frank was on according to the people, Paratici, like Frank, like Glasner,
Inzaghi,
Xavi, Marco Silva. These are the players that
Francesco Farioli left eye.
These are the players that Paratici did like. So Frank was one of the people apparently.
Huh. Okay. Cool. Interesting.
Look, I mean, Frank's also with the base Angels, the BAA agency as well, like that Angel is a member of, and it's like these agents are the ones you go to and you get a lot of your data analysis stuff from. You go to these companies and pay them a fee for all this analysis, then you go and look for players. It's not the end of the world if Paratici doesn't come back. I think he would like to come back to Spurs. So, but we'll see how this works out, whether he does or not.
Adrian, and actually Jose too. I didn't get to ask you guys straight up how you feel about the appointment of Thomas Frank in general. I
don't, to be honest with you, I don't know a great deal about him. I know he plays 4-2-3-1. I've only watched his teams play against us. They've always caused us problems. We all seem to get across the line. I know about as much as Frank as I knew about Nuno Espirito Santo when he came in, and about as much as I knew about Poch when he came in, because he wasn't the first choice. I knew quite a bit about Conte and Mourinho. I didn't want either of them because I knew how it was going to end, and it ended the way I predicted. And they didn't fit Spurs' DNAs. They were egocentric managers who thought they were bigger than the clubs they were with. So that's different. I shall do what I normally do. I normally assess things at Christmas at the end of the season. So I'll see a Frank coach with a heavy league program of European games and the League Cup up until Christmas and sort of judge it. I'm not going to judge him on 5 or 6 games. I'm not going to judge him on the first 10 games because and won 8 and drew 2, and it's still a record of 26 points. I'm not going to judge him on that. I don't think it's right to do that. I want to see, I mean, you want to see growth and improvement. So out of the squad. So if I'm going to games as the seasons get older and I'm liking the football with Steve and we're a bit unlucky with a few results, I'm not going to throw darts at Frank.
Yeah, so sorry, Jackie says, knowing the Danish system inside out, Frank is more of a Paratici guy than a Johan Langer guy. Ian has piped up and said it's rumours. I think he meant rumours FC. But he's he says rumours OC. For me, what I will say, Colin, in response to you, at the end of the day, my pick was probably thinking too far down the line because we're talking about Levy. If we had a different ownership, right, maybe my pick would have come off. I wanted Xavi Hernandez at the club, but I think with knowing our club and that and the way it is, we were never going to get Xavi Hernandez. So we've got Thomas Frank coming in now, and with the Thomas Frank situation, I'm not mad. I'll get behind him. You know, at the end of the day, underwhelming, overwhelming, whatever people may call it, the guy's a good coach. I'm going to get behind him. We'll monitor it. We'll see how it happens, like we do with every manager that comes. We always have a look to see what they're like and stuff like that before we actually make decisions, don't we? So, you know, at the end of the day, I'll get behind him like I do every other manager. I must admit, as being a Tottenham fan for the last season, even though we've won that trophy, it's been hard being a Tottenham fan for the last year or so. It has been hard. It culminated in us winning a trophy. Like I said at the start of the show, Postecoglou and the team have given us 2 great days, 21st and 23rd of May, which will be etched in our lifetimes, in our memories, and we'll never forget them. But Friday, a decision was made. We need to move on with that decision, and I'm fully behind the manager.
Yeah. The fan base will unite behind the manager. They always do. They will.
I know. It's just that Colin's asked us the question, so I'm just responding back to Colin's question. Ed M's here says, evening, Jose and chat. And then you've got Ian saying, rumours of Eze. Johnny Hammer is retweeting. I forgot Sarr from my list of midfielders. So I'm just going to move on to something else for a second, right? I'm going to grab people's attentions and ask people, are they aware of this? Right, are you aware of this? Still got it. Yeah, the link's here. Right, I'm going to put the link in the chat. So the link's gone into the chat now, right? But what they've done at Spurs Kings TV, I was showing Adrian wasn't aware of this earlier, so I'm going to make people aware of it now. They've set up a show, and it's called the Tottenham YouTube Content Creators Awards, right? And there are different categories. So you've got the GOAT Awards for all the big channels, if you can see that. You've got the Best Channel of the Year, some big channels there. The Breakout Creator of the Year. You've then got Best Tactical Analysis Program. You've got the Funniest Creator, which they were never going to put any of us on, they were too serious. The Best Match Day Vlogs. They've got Best International Spurs Channel. Well, I don't know. I've counted as an English channel, not as an international. And I appear on the Best Match Preview. How I've made their shortlist for the Best Match Preview, I don't know, but I'm on there. You can see me down there. Hotel Conqueror.
Hey,
the Best Match Preview.
Yeah, take the nomination where you can get it.
I'm going to take it. Best Spurs Show. There's a load there. Best live streams and watch-alongs. Best transfer update. Best newcomer. Adrian's show. Spurs Diehards. TTID is there as a nominator as best newcomer. So Adrian's on our show, so Adrian will probably like a vote there as well. if possible. But Adrian wasn't aware of this. I told him about this before the start of the show. You've then got Upcoming Stars, Best Daytime Channel, and here we go. You've got Underrated Channel in the Tottenham Hotspur community, and I appear on the shortlist. Eltel Cock,
yeah.
although this is called Eltel Cock Reel. I've just realised the spelling mistake. It's Cock Reel, not Cockerel. But then second from I'm second from the top. The second from the bottom, you've got Spurs Diehards TPID, also been nominated there. And then you've got a non-Spurs. So what I'm saying to people is that, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's a great concept that they've come up with. I think it's a great concept they've come up with. And what I'm saying is that I would urge people to have a go. But the thing is, when you pick a nomination, you can only pick one from each category, and you've got to do them all. You can't pick just one category. You've got to do every category. It's here, guys. Look, I've put it in there, so it's in the chat. So the forms. So follow this link, and it should take you to the forms.
So you guys are both in one of the same categories. That means everyone watching has to choose between Spurs Diehards and Eltel. So
Yeah. So the thing is, so can I say, if you people go over to Spurs Kings TV, you'll find it on there. They've got the actual form and everything on there, on there. So if you go on there, you'll be able to find the form. Let me see if I can find the form. Hold on. Let me see. Sorry, Colin, carry on.
Oh, I was going to say though, people watching have to make a stance. Are you voting for Adrian or Jose? Choose carefully.
Well, I didn't even. It was my show, and I didn't even know Adrian was on it until I started reading through, because someone had told me that I'd been nominated. And then when I started reading them out before the show, because we were waiting for you, I was reading them out. And I said, Adrian, you've been nominated twice here as well. Adrian didn't even know. I had to tell him. Let me see if I can find Spurs Kings. Spurs Kings TV. Right, so found Spurs Kings TV. Okay, here it is. Right, so I'll never look. So Spurs Kings TV. More right. So I'll try this one. Let me tell me if this link works. Right. So they have got it on their stream. Right, and there we go. Try that one. It's that one there then. Try that one, see if that one works. So Luke said the last link I posted worked for him, but try this link then, guys, if you want to have a go at it. Luke is in the chat. Good afternoon, Luke. Luke has been nominated as well as, I think, best newcomer as well. I think Luke's been nominated. Luke has only been with us a short while, but has got a nomination as well. I just think the concept is great. I think what Spurs King TV is took me by surprise, because I think the concept is great, because what they're basically doing is they're trying to unify a load of channels. So they've named a lot of channels in the Tottenham sphere, stuck them in categories that they've quoted and they've mentioned. And I think the concept's an absolutely brilliant one. And in all honesty, I think it brings people together and unites people more than what it does divide people. And at the end of the day, it's for the people out there, the people out there to go away and vote away. But yeah, if people want to have a go, then the vote is there. So I've got it up on screen. Can I ask a question? There is a person, and I need to look it up again, but there was a person within my earlier on who made a comment, and then I got kicked out and I had to restart again, but made a comment, and he was making the comment from X, and I wanted to see whether he could repost the comment again. And that person, if he's still with us, because X, I lost all my X people, but they've now come back. I think he's SK. So SK, if you're still listening on X, could you please repost your comment that you made? I think it was something to do with Kulusevski. And if you do, then what I will do is I'll be able to read it out again. But I'm really sorry. I got kicked out of the stream and therefore lost everything that, had been put up. but I know that you made a comment about Kulusevski, and I don't think I'd start it, but it would be good if I could find it and then be able to read it out again.
4 minutes.
Right, sorry, I was just saying here. So, not that link, the one you pinned on the chat at the start that won't load, whatever that is. Okay, so now that's about memberships, the one I've pinned in the chat. Let me see. Am I able to do it? Right, so let me post that again. Post it again. Right, so there's the form again. Sorry, if people have a bit of fun. Right, and I can't pin it. Can I not pin it? No, I can't pin it. It's not letting me pin it. So there's the form anyway. It's not letting me pin it. So you've got the people are saying that the links work for them. Luke says, "Can't believe I wasn't even known." He's laughing. Mate, you've come in, and I tell you what, you've calmed down a lot of the community with the way you talk, the way you conduct yourself, the way you present, and the way that you construct your debate. If you like, I'm not going to call it an argument. I'm going to call it a debate, and it's certainly slowed down a lot of people that were probably coming from the other track. But now you've done really, really well, mate. Ed says there's channels on it I haven't seen. We'll have to check them out. Yeah, there's some channels that they were doing, and I just thought to myself, really, I haven't got a clue who they are either. Ryan G says voted. One of them was such a tough vote, as there were loads of YouTubers on there I like. Rinketi is saying, sorry, he's talking to Dan. It worked for me, says Drula. The link does work, but you can buy memberships via the live chat. Don't know where he's referring to there. People sounding like each other. I appreciate it, mate. Too kind, thank you. No, it's true, mate. It's true. I said it from day one, from when I saw you appear. Daddy says, bloody hell, have I got to do every different category as well before I can submit your vote? Yeah, you can't just vote for one category. You have to vote in every category. I did mine earlier, and I had to vote in every category. So, SDF Benny, good afternoon, says, this takeover stuff better be legit, or else I'm not looking forward to anything, if I'm honest. That's another thing with Adrian. What are you saying about the takeover stuff? What are your thoughts around this? I know that you spoke about Patronus earlier, and Colin as well, because you heard what Adrian or Ian said. It was Ian talked about Patronus earlier, that he's spoken to Chang and to Eugene, and they said that the problems in Malaysia that they've got at the moment, it wouldn't be a wise idea for Patronus to go and spend £4 billion on a football club. But with that being said, right, there have been rumours, and I will say the rumours have been abound for, I would say that for at least the last 4 months, Adrian, possibly slightly longer, there's been rumours about conversations having really stoked and accelerated and taken off with new people coming in and stuff like that. Now we're hearing the Patronus stuff. There's other rumours talking about Amanda Stavely again. There's rumours about Qataris. There's rumours about this, that, and the other. Do you think there's something going on or not?
Yeah, the rumours are gaining gravitas. Patronus. So I'm sure most people have heard of the Patronus towers in Malaysia, and 2 big towers with like the walkway high up across joining both of them. I don't know much about Patronus. Obviously, an oil company, I think, big oil company. The other rumours, Qatari's not gone away. American investment, a couple out there haven't gone away. It's a question of how imminent you think the deal is, and what gives it more gravitas is what Ian mentioned when Peter Charrington comes onto the ball, and like he's like close to Lewis and Vivian Lewis, the daughter, to do with the trust of ENIC. He's on the move. Cullen's gone. She was asked by Leavitt to stand for another year, probably for Leavitt to consolidate his position as CEO or chairman. We don't know if he'll be pushed aside now. The other board members, you've got Collicott, Turner, and I assume Vinay Venkatesham will be on the board because he's CEO. So there's only 5 with Levy. So Levy may be pushed aside. He may continue on the business side in a non-footballing capacity. I'm sure we'll all hope that happens, because we can't doubt his professionalism when it comes to running a business. But I don't know. We've heard all this before, and I just doubt we're going to get any investment in the club before the window closes. I mean, but that is the 1st of September, so there's a long way to go in this window. And you've got all of July and August, yeah, and we're not even out of June. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but when? I don't know when. I mean, like, we haven't heard. I mean, and then you see, even if it is happening, we won't hear about it because there'll be non-disclosure agreements, because you can't have people have any insider. Well, I'm not sure. We're not on the stock exchange, but yeah, there are shares in this club. There are 30,000 small shareholders. If you're talking about buying a large chunk of ENIC shares, then you don't have to go to the other shareholders. You can just buy them, which is an easier way of getting control of the club or getting a stake in the club. But yeah,
if I ask a question from Colin, Colin's going to give me a different answer. I know it. But I know it already, because I think I kind of know where Colin's going to lean to when he talks, and he answers it. But where are you with this, Colin?
Well, I mean, I'm just a change. Any kind of a change would be sort, I guess, welcome in a way. You know, it's just. Do I think it's likely to happen? Kind of no. I don't. But that's only because that's a lot of money to move around in a relatively short amount of time. That is assuming, though, that it hasn't already begun, that there hasn't been significant movement already, and I do see the points that that they would keep it quiet, that we wouldn't have heard much about it, because, for one, why would you want that type of business to be, I don't know, to be forecasted to the public? I don't think you would. I think there's a lot of advantage to keeping that quiet. If you would have asked me in the past, I would have said that, I would have taken some moral stance against, I don't know, probably potentially against some kind of Middle Eastern investment. And looking at that now, I think that's probably a little bit, I don't know, not maybe the best way to look at it. And I mean, it's just kind of the movement and the direction that things are moving. I just hope that Tottenham can retain kind of their identity, and that the fans, particularly the local ones, are still represented, and still that their Tottenham experience doesn't change very much. For everybody else's sake. I don't think it's particularly likely, like I said, but that doesn't mean that there hasn't already been movement that I'm just not aware of. I don't feel like Amanda Staveley would be. She's definitely doing something, right? She's absolutely working with Spurs in some capacity, or is that just a rumor?
She was her and her husband. They brokered the deal with Newcastle, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
She might have some contact with the Middle East, but then you've got the QSI, the Qatari Sports Investment. There might be some political sensitivity with them because of their support of certain factions in the Middle East. But then when you had an investment from America, and it was muted that the owner of the Dallas Cowboys might want to stake in Spurs. Even a lot of the Levy outers were up in arms about that, because he's got a political sensitive background. I don't think you're going to get any billionaire owner who hasn't got a politically sensitive background, to be honest. Billionaires don't become billionaires by doing the right things all the time, so
Agreed.
I just don't see it. Other American, consultants were linked. We'll just see how this goes. I mean, one surely is going to step up. It depends. I mean, the Arabs seem to have more money than they know what to do with. So out in the middle, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Middle Eastern investor that buys a chunk of Spurs. I'd like someone to completely buy the club personally, not phase buyouts and all that. But it's a lot of money. if the club's valued at $5 billion.
It's very clearly for sale. The club's very, very obviously
Well,
for sale.
Levy, we've had contact with Rothschild Bank a while back, looking for an investor in the club, and that contact with Rothschild Bank goes back a long way. Now you've got Peter Charrington, who's ex-CEO of Citibank, involved. He will have contacts. I mean, all these bankers have got contacts with each other. He will have contacts as well. So, and he's just come on the board. I don't think it's just because we won the Europa League. I think these changes have been ongoing, and they were going to happen whether we won or lost this competition. So, yeah, something's up. It's definitely up, but we'll see what happens. You're muted, Ian. Jose, you're muted.
Yeah, I was talking to the wife.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to interrupt you while you were in full flow. Right, I thought to myself when I asked the question, I thought that I was going to get from Colin is blah 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 blah, and yeah, I would like them to sell up and bring another person in. That's what I thought Colin was going to land on. So when I said I thought I knew you was going to say Colin, I thought that's where you were going to land on it, mate. Sorry. That's what I had conceived ideas that's where you'd land, saying that it'd be good and it'd be good to get it and good to be done.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't mind it for it to be done, and in fact, I think that that's probably going to be what needs to happen for us to see like lasting and a big change on the footballing side of things. I don't know how likely I think it is, and I just hope that when it happens, that it's to somebody who takes good care of the club and has the fans' best interests at heart.
Yeah. You got this from Ed says, even if there's an agreement, there's a period of exclusivity, and then it could take the Premier League 6 months to ratify. Nketi says, Frank likes to play with 2 to 3 strikers in either a 4-3-3 or a 3-5-2, 5-3-2. For example, doesn't Spurs need to buy another top striker? No, because at the moment they've got Sonny, they've got Richie, and they've got Solanke. So you've got 3 strikers there already. If they're going to play in that kind of system, we've already got 3 strikers. Whether they're going to be the strikers at the start of the season, I don't know. I don't know what the movement of the pawns. I don't know if the movement of the pawns are going to be. I've seen on X just now. I was looking at it. The comment that's been made from Sonny that someone read out earlier. I think Ian read it out earlier. The comment from Sonny, and that comment kind of tells me that someone's put in to one of the comments. Ange and Sonny going in the same month. The world has ended. So
I mean that is. I mean the Sonny situation. That is a surprise. Now I can see Levy licking his lips if he can get 25 to 50 million for a 32-year-old player who's going to be 33 shortly. But I was of the feeling that Sonny's never shown himself to be greedy and wanting money. He's sponsored by every company under the sun in South Korea. He's got more than enough money. And then what, to go and have a fresh start with a new club elsewhere? I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, like, to me, I mean, if he does, I still see him coming back and being an ambassador at this football club eventually. But I just thought he'd see his career out. Maybe Johnny's made that comment because maybe he's been given a little nudge, But then I don't think any of these players, because to me, I'm getting rid of Basuma and Richarlison, but that's before Frank comes in. I don't know we don't know who Frank wants to keep, who he wants to let go rather, because he'll want to keep most of the players, but who does he want to let go? He has said positive things about Richarlison. He has said positive things about Basuma. As it stands now, I still want both of them gone myself. That's only my opinion. But then Frank might. But then if we did get Eze in with Mbuemo or Semenyo, and those 2 stayed, I'm thinking, hang about, this window's good so far, right? And now if you want a DM and you got 3 in that we would consider virtually marquee signings, I'm a happy bunny, and I have to trust his judgment on Basuma and Richarlison.
Right. So what I'm trying to do is, this is Luke still in the chat, and Luke is an absolute wizard, and he's a lot younger than me. He's an absolute whiz on the old X, right? And I haven't got. I've got X. I don't know how to use it, but I've seen that an hour ago, Tottenham Talk. I don't know whether I can bring it up because that's I'm trying to see if I can find it. Tottenham Talk have posted. Tottenham have opened talks to sign João Paulinho.
Huh.
Interesting, because Bayern owe us money, and we're still in for Tell, who he's another one. I like him. I love his attitude on the field and all that, but not for the money they want. I'd like to see Tell on a loan to buy, or a loan to buy with an obligation for a fee that suits the club, but not for 40 odd million. No, because you can use that money to get in Eze or Semenyo or one of the others. So then, no, I would send him back. But like, even though we might miss out on someone, but we keep waiting for these players to develop. I mean, we've been fortunate enough that one positive thing that's come through a crap season is that we've seen that Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall are both going to be superstars. That's in my opinion. Right? Some fans might like one or the other more than one or the other. You know, that's normal. But like, and Spence, actually. There have been three positives, actually, those three with Spence. So I think Dragerson will suit a Frank system when he gets fit again. You know.
So everybody, Adrian, look, everybody. So this is Spurs Express through Alex Crook. The Tottenham chairman Danny Levy has met with Anton Semenyo's advisors about a possible summer transfer. 2 minutes ago that was released. Transfer News Live has released it 1 minute ago, saying exactly the same thing. The source is Alex Crook. So it looks like Tottenham have inquired about Semenyo.
And Semenyo stated to
Total Spurs, look, 1 minute ago, quoting the same thing.
Yeah, because he stated he wants Champions League football. He's not getting at Man United. So if they're in for Semenyo, if they get Mbeumo over us, actually, I don't think there's a lot in it between Mbeumo and Semenyo. Then we get Semenyo who wants Champions League football. Because you see, Frank might prefer Mbeumo. He obviously knows the player well. And that might make an influence on it as well, you see. Because Man United are also interested in Semenyo. So both clubs are playing their cards close to their chest, thinking if we don't get one, we'll get the other.
I don't know a thing about Semenyo at all. Nothing.
Semenyo, you've not seen him play with Bournemouth? Oh,
I surely have, just because, just catching the odd bit of a match from them, but nothing that stands out. I don't specifically remember him.
He's a beast. He's got to be 6 foot comfortably, and he plays out right. He can play right or left. He's actually played down the middle as well when they were about a strike.
If you go on the Spurs Diehards TTID WhatsApp, you'll see the video I've posted there of Eze, Semenyo, and Mbeumo for people to look at, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll have to.
So you can go in there and have a look at them, and it is the last year, right? So on all of them.
Could you compare him to anybody else?
Well, you'll see the comparisons on, because I use Brazil Scout. They always give you at the beginning. They give you who this player is most like, and they usually give you 3 options. So when you go in them videos for all those 3 players, it will give you players who they're like, and as long as you know one of them other players or not, you get
right. Yeah, that's the caveat there for sure. But yeah, I'll check him out today. Look forward to that.
I'm just going up and down to see if I can see that quote, from Sonny, and I can find it, but I can't see it anywhere at the moment. But yeah, so I can't see it. Look at that. Blocked him, don't tolerate.
I think if you're given a 4-year contract with the year's option extra, Frank. What do you think, Jose? I mean, Andrew's giving 3 with 1, as you said. I didn't know that, but
yeah, I thought Andrew's was a 3+1.
Yeah.
So
I knew before. Everyone said he got 4 years, right? But
I don't know. Somewhere I don't know where I've got it at. In my head, Adrian, I've got 3+1, which obviously makes 4. But I had it's 3+1.
Well, semantics. It's 4 years, so I would expect Frank.
How much was he getting paid a year?
5.
5. Okay. So I've not heard. I mean, not that they're going to share everything, but from the compensations that I've seen, no one said that we're paying out 10 million in compensation and 10 million to bring Frank in. I thought that the compensation package.
Well, no, because the reports were saying that Ange he'll get a 4. There might be a clause in a contract. How he finishes the season, he gets 2 million for winning the Europa, right? Which is fair enough. No one's going to argue with that. And I think effects worth 4 million for being sacked. Only 4. So that there might be something performance related in that contract, or if it doesn't work out, by the time you get to the 3rd season, if you go, it's only 4 mil, and it might reduce towards the end of his contract, so you don't have to pay out so much money. So the story going on many sources is that he get Angel walk away with 6 mil, 2 mil for winning the Open that. So Frank 10 mil. Then he's going to bring his staff in, so that's going to add up a bit more. But they won't be on mega bucks, so that's 16 mil already. Then you got Frank's contract. What do you think we're going to pay him? About 8 a year. He's not going to get a Conte 15 mil a year, nothing like that. That's for sure. So
right, who we got here? We got Dan says, sorry, I've lost the chat because I was thinking about that bloody X. Daniel says, I'll be honest, I don't believe any takeover talk. Julia says that Sonny is too loyal. Yeah, Spotlight Luke, like I said, Luke's all over bloody Twitter. So he's one of the young ones. He knows how to use it all and that. He's all over it. I'm shit using it. But
when you look at that Sonny comment, when you look at other players now that have belatedly been made ambassadors of the football club, when you walk around the stadium and that now. And I can just see that with Sonny. He may prove us wrong and think, oh, sorry, I will go for the last big payday, even though I don't need the money. And he might go out there. He might go to the Middle East. And we would bet. I mean, it'd make commercial sense to sell him for 25 mil or even up to 50 mil to Saudis, because we could do with the money, right? And like, it would make commercial sense. But
this Tottenham talk on X is 2 hours ago posted, Tottenham are growing in optimism over their chances to sign Mbeumo. Things are progressing well. Listen, it's silly season. We know that already.
yeah.
Jess has said, voted for you, Jose. Thank you, Jess. Very kind of you. Daniel says, time for Sonny to chill in the less demanding league for the last few years of his career. He's earned that right. Ryan G says, if Bournemouth gets 70 million for Semenyo, I'm going to lose my mind. Right. Semenyo or Mbeumo?
To me,
you and Colin,
since you know both players.
Semenyo or Mbeumo?
oh,
Semenyo's, I think Semenyo's younger, slightly younger than, I think Semenyo's 23 or so, where Mbeumo might be 26, 27.
I think Mbeumo's only 25 from what I've
Is
heard.
he? I think he's slightly older.
He looks old because of his bald.
Yeah, I think he's slightly older than Semenyo, but Bournemouth are saying they want 70. I think, but Brentford. I can't remember what Brentford rejected from last week from Manchester United, but I think Brentford are looking at 55. Is that everything, including add-ons and all that? 55.
Stick with add-ons, so they want more.
Okay, so therefore, I mean, the chat are answering already. I can see them. Ellen says Mbeumo all day. Better player than Semenyo. Daniel says Mbeumo.
I like the fact he's already worked with Thomas Frank, so.
Riquetti says there's only a year difference between Mbeumo and Semenyo.
Well, that's negligible. Yeah, get the manager the player he wants.
We will agree personal terms. Spurs have a good relationship with Bayern. I think Luke was referring to Paulinho. Daniel says, Jess will try and get everyone on your channel to vote for Jose later as well. Oh, he's speaking to Jess. Look at that. Lord Rodney's around, says Ryan G with a smiling emoji. Good afternoon, Lord Rodney. Hope you and the family are well, sir. And I hope this, as you've joined us now, I hope that you are well and that the family are well and that everything's good in life. Did Archer make a comment? Can't see Archer there. Right. Semenyo is a good dribbler, says Rinketic. Lord Rodney says Semenyo has been at Bournemouth's best attacker for the last 2 years. 70 million is a lot, says Dan. Kudos. Now, Kudos is being offered to everybody at the moment. They've offered Kudos to a few clubs in the Premiership. Kudos has said he wants to leave. Would you make a bid for Kudos?
No, not if we're going for the other two, no.
Colin? Mohamed Kudos. Do you know much about him, the West Ham player?
Almost nothing.
Okay. I like Kudos. I said that my rant about getting rid of Sonny a couple of years ago, or three
Yeah, I've
years
heard
ago.
you mention his name.
Yeah, players I said to bring in at the time. I said if we get 70 million, this is about 3 years ago. So if we get 70 million, I would go for Mohamed Kudus of Ajax, and I would go for Ugarte, who was at Sporting at the time. So that was our 6 that we needed, a holding midfielder. And Kudus for me was a machine at the time. But no Kudus for you then, Adrian, no?
Well, it was also rumoured that Frank would like Nathan Collins, to bring Nathan Collins with him.
Centre half. Yeah, but people have been saying, I'm going to throw 2 names to you and to the chat, right?
He's a leader.
I'm going to shit stir a bit, and I'm going to throw some people. You've got people that are talking to each other about these people. But Mbeumo says Nketiah, Mbeumo all day long for Edem over Semenyo, Mbeumo for Dan. There's only 1 year between them both. Yeah, I'd get both, says Drula. I wish that we could buy both, because then we'd be acting like a proper big club.
Well, you could, because Mbeumo can play through the middle as well. He's played through the middle for Brentford, hasn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
Right, so right, you know that you said, Adrian, right, and some others have said, or I don't know whether you said it, Adrian, but some people have said that we still need that monster 6. We still need to buy a 6. Would you?
I don't think we do.
You don't. So you wouldn't look at Paulinho?
Yeah, I would take him. Yeah, definitely. There are defensive midfielders I would take.
Let me throw 2 more names. Let me throw 2 more names to you. Sander Berger, right, from Fulham, and Christian Norgard from Brentford.
What about the Dane or Swedish player?
Does he play for Brentford?
No.
Because I'm talking about players
like Frankfurt.
Yeah, but I'm talking of players for affordability, Premiership experience, and affordability. Because we talked earlier about our owners. We really want them to dip into the market. We really want to get the right players, you know. And at the end of the day, I'm just thinking to myself, Sander Berger, I think, is underrated. And there's a lot of people talking about Sander Berger, and he's underrated. I like him. And Norgard, obviously, is known to what's his name? To Thomas Frank. A bit like Nathan Collins. Nathan Collins is a centre half, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is talk. There has been. I've heard Nathan Collins' name brought up, but I'm just talking about buying a 6, and if we're buying a defensive midfielder, someone that we're all going to turn around and say that Archie could learn from.
Edison.
Edison's going to, as far as I'm aware, weren't Al Hilal bidding for Edison to take him to the World Club Championships? I thought he was one of the people on Al Hilal's list. And I'm talking about people that realistically Tottenham will move for and come. I ain't talking about people that are not going to buy, because they're not going to pay.
Well, we could definitely get Maddison if we want him, if the will's there, and we could definitely get Semenyo because he wants Champions League football, right?
Dan and Peter Kagayas actually agreed on something earlier. Tottenham will never pay the wages to bring these players in, because it all comes down to money. It comes down to the wage.
Look, I disagree, because if you can play 170 grand a week for Werner, you can pay 200 grand a week for these players. And if they sign on, if they wanted 250 grand and you agreed, you say to them, look, we'll pay you 200 grand, but we'll give you X million signing on fee, which actually makes your wages 250 grand. You can get round it. You can structure it so you can get round it. Or if they're ridiculous, they want 350 grand a week. We're not paying that for anyone, or 300 grand. I think at a squeeze we would go to 250 by working a deal with bonuses, signing on fee, blah, blah, blah. And you could get round it that way. I mean, what do you think, Colin?
So are you saying that you don't think that Werner was worth 170 grand a week? He was our best player. No,
yeah.
I'm trying to.
Do you think he should return his Europa League medal?
No, I think he's keeping that. I think he's going to treasure that forever.
He's got a Champions League medal as well, hasn't he, with Chelsea?
Yeah, he's highly decorated. I mean, we were lucky to have him. No, but
He's got more medals than Audie Murphy.
I think that we definitely could. I don't know. I don't know if we're eventually going to have to start paying wages at least close to what other clubs are going to offer players. It's just going to have to happen eventually.
Mm.
I would say 200 though would probably be top end of what we'd be willing to do without some kind of signing on bonus, like you mentioned.
I think Mbuemo was rumoured to be offered 130 grand a week at Man United. Even now under Ratcliffe are cutting their cloth.
Man United have offered him 150 million, 150,000 a week. They're saying that Tottenham won't go any higher than 130, is what they're saying.
I don't believe that. If we're paying Werner 170.
Okay, I'm just saying what this is what all the ITKs are saying. If you look at all this,
and this is going to get worse during these 6-7 days of windows going in the polls. It's going to get worse, isn't it? Because no deals can be done, so that means you're just going to get more clickbait rumours, basically. Yeah. So,
Chinwag Spurs says, of course,
the ones about Semenyo and Buemo and Madison. I mean, take note of those because they will all gain gravitas anyway. Because we are genuinely interested in those players. So
who's Madison?
Yeah, James.
Wait, but what about James Madison?
Well, he's got the 68 million release clause. Pay the money and get him in. That's one
James Madison, like the player that's on our team already.
Oh, sorry, Eze, sorry.
No, you're good. I was like, hold on. I was like, what did I miss? Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense.
And a brain fart. Sorry, chat.
Chinwag Spurs says, of course, we need a defensive midfielder. We are crying out for one. Rinketic,
he's played in the Premier League. He's proven.
Is this who you were talking about, Adrian? Hugo Larsson from Frankfurt?
Yeah.
Because if it is, he's not a number 6, says Rinketic. Norgard is Premier League proven, says Dan. Chinwag is saying Adam Wharton. Too much money, Adam Wharton, to buy. Ed M says, Boubacar Kamara with Villa PSR problems. I'll test Villa for him for about 50 million, down to 2 years left on his contract. Morton Friendrick won't be that expensive, and both Paratici and Thomas know about him. And then Dan says, deals can be done in that 6 days. They just won't be able to officially be Tottenham player until the 16th of June. I think, right, Tottenham, if there's a deal that can be made, right, and you can snap one of these players up, like they've done with Brennan Johnson and stuff like that, they will make a move for someone by the 30th of June. Otherwise, I don't see Tottenham doing deals till July. That's my personal opinion.
I think Frank's going to be announced this week, probably tomorrow.
I think tomorrow Frank gets announced,
or the next day at the latest.
I think tomorrow.
He'll be announced, and then obviously, look, they're announcing it. They already know who Frank wants. So if he's been given 1 or 2 players that he can have, because all signings are club signings, in my opinion. I'm never going to change my view on that. So if he's been given 1 or 2 players, we'll go for him. And if we said, well, would you like Eze? He'd probably like snap, yes, please. So I can see Eze being one, and I can see Buemo being the other. And if we get those 2 in, I'll be delighted. And then we may get Paulinho as well. And that will probably be one of our best windows we've had in years.
But what's interesting, though, Adrian and Colin, right? And I'll go to Colin, right? Colin, with these players that are being linked with Tottenham at the moment, we know it gets silly season, right? We know this happens, right? But for the last year or so, all I've heard is Eze. There is no doubting in my mind Eze's ability. Eze is cream. He's actually a very cream footballer, silky smooth cream footballer. Does a lot of work that goes unnoticed. He works back for the team, but he is such a tremendous footballer on the ball and that. And he throws shapes when he's on the pitch, and he's excellent, right? So for a year, I've been fed or drip fed Eze. We missed out on him last year. Some people will say it's because Ange didn't want him, right? But now Eze was all the buzz. About 4 weeks ago, Eze was all the buzz again. Tottenham are going to go back in for him. Tottenham will do this. Tottenham will do that. Some people are reporting 68 million. It's got to be. You've got to pay the whole lot up front, and Palace will let him go. However, that was 4 weeks ago. Now, and I don't know whether you're concerned, Colin and Adrian, but now you're hearing Mbeumo, Semenyo, Xavi Simons. To me, it looks like Eze's been forgotten about because everyone is talking about other players now rather than Eze. Where for the last 13 months, all I've heard is Eze's name. What are your thoughts on that, Colin? So
I would take. Listen, if we couldn't get Eze, I would take Simmons. It'd be a bit cheaper. He's younger, 23, I think, at Leipzig. I would take Simmons.
Yeah, but what definitely. I'm saying though, I think what I'm coming towards, Adrian, is that for 13 months being drip fed Eze, 4 weeks ago he was still the buzz. Now
I think we'll get Eze.
I don't hear his name anymore.
He's with the same BAA agency as a lot of our players are, and Frank as well.
CAA.
He's CAA. We've tapped him up enough in the past. He knows we're interested. We still don't know if Palace are going to be in the Europa League next year because Nottingham Forest have grassed them up over their owners have got interest in other clubs, and you're not allowed to compete in competitions or something under the rules. And so Palace could find themselves kicked out, and then Forest would take their place. So the Forest chairman has written to UEFA explaining that like Palace are in breach of the rules. So this is another little shit story going around. So if he's not got even, mind you, it didn't stop him staying at Palace before their European football, but you know, Champions League, you know, it's enticing for players. Does he want to prove himself? I think we can get Eze and one of Mbeumo or Semenyo, and Mbeumo, because he knows Frank would be the better fit and he can play through the middle.
We've got Dan Hotspur Hood. Dan, good evening, mate. I hope this finds you well. I hope you're well, mate. I hope everything's good in life and that. You make a comment. You say Eze is 110% once at Spurs. Are you saying that you want him at Spurs, Dan, or are you saying that Spurs want him? Because what I'm saying, Dan, is I think it's all gone quiet on Eze in the last 4 weeks ago. The buzz was Eze, and in the last 4 weeks, all these other names of players have come up, like your Semenyos, your Mbeumos, and players like that. And I don't hear enough about Eze anymore. So that's what I was referring to. Colin, what are your thoughts on what I've just said, mate?
Well, I'll just throw out that I think Eze is the player that I would want out of the names that you've mentioned. I'm not sure how much of it's to do with the fact that Thomas Frank's coming now, and that Mbeumo is a player that he knows quite well. Good question, I guess. Why is the Eze talk gone quiet? I wish I had a good answer, because I also think that he's probably attainable, and I think from what I know, like I said, I don't know much of Semenyo, but I think that it probably wouldn't be a stretch to say that Eze is the top player out of the three. Maybe he's not quite as versatile, maybe, as the other two. Again, I don't really know.
So I'll say to you then, Colin, right? If I say to you, Colin, Eze, Mbeumo, Semenyo, who do you, and you can buy one, or Tottenham will definitely buy one, which is, I don't know whether that's accurate or not, but if they are going to buy one, who is your player that you're buying out of them three?
Probably Eze, I think. I mean, I know that, the other guys can potentially play through the middle or have played through the middle more, but I don't know. I'd rather get a player that's, I don't want to be buying players because they can be used in more than one, he's a winger, but you can play him as a striker if necessary. I don't know. I don't really like that. I'd rather get a winger and a striker. That's.
Do you think, Colin, things have gone quiet on Eze because we've already had talks with him and he's agreed to come if we strike a deal? So now we've moved our attention elsewhere in the meantime.
I think it's likely. Yeah, it's no secret. I don't think that we've been after Eze for a while, and so either we've gotten a hard no or a hard yes. I think either of those are equally as likely. But I think that we definitely know one way or the other, and so talks have presumably moved on to other players for other positions.
Because
So
before Frank was
sorry,
coming in,
when we had the discussion earlier, Adrian, right? Because I heard a good question you just asked, Colin. But when we were talking earlier about the transfer fund, so to speak, and you said it, Adrian, I think it was your comment. You turned around and said, "But with the Eze deal, they want all the money up front. There's no monetizing any of it. They want it all up front." Do you think, right? Because for me, to be quite honest, I'm going to put my cards on the table. I'd love Eze as my number one pick, but I would take at least one of the other two as well as Eze if you could have monetized the deal. Do you think Tottenham will think like that? Do you think they'll say, right, 68 million of our budget has to be one payment to Crystal Palace because they're the terms. We've known these terms for the last year or so. So if we've got 200 million to spend, 68 has gone on Eze. So that's like, God, that's pretty much 60% of your budget gone. Sorry, 40%, the 35 to 40% of your budget gone already. And then with the other player, I would bring in another player like a Semenyo or an Mbeumo, but I'd only bring them in knowing that I've got Eze definitely over the line. He's coming. He's wearing the shirt. What are your thoughts on that?
we could raise that money for Eze. That's not. That shouldn't be an issue. If the world's there, we've got the money to do the Eze deal, and then we could get one of them, Mbeumo and Semenyo, and even then go for Paulinho because Bayern owes money, and we'd probably still have enough money left over because I think they really like Tell at the club. He's not oven ready, which is my issue with him. I like his attitude and all that, and I could then see us just doing a loan for Tell. I don't see us bringing in a defender. I don't. Not now Davis has signed an extra extension. I don't see that happening. So if you brought in Eze and you had Paulinho, that's two midfielders, we're okay. Then you've got Mbeumo in. Words that Frank spoke, in good terms about Basuma and Richarlison in the past, but whether he really means that or not, they're two players I'd like to see gone personally. But if we haven't got the money to bring another striker in, then you've got to bring Lancashire in the squad if you're going to sell Richarlison, or you keep Richarlison and let him run his contract down because he said he's not leaving the Premier League while he's got a chance of making the Brazil squad at the end of next season. So I can see him digging his heels in. I mean, we know Everton are interested because Calvert-Lewin's going and won't sign a new contract, so they need a striker. You'd get money for Richarlison simply on the fact because of the market. It's not what we value him at. I still think you'd get 45 million for him, more if he went to the Middle East, because there aren't any numbers out there. Brighton could do with a number 9 because the ex-Arsenal Man United striker, he's well into his 30s, isn't he? And Danny, what's his name? I forget his name.
Danny Welbeck. I think he's 36 next birthday, I think.
Yeah, and Evan Ferguson can't get in the team for some reason. He's fell away. I don't know why. Yeah. So I don't know if he's been injured or whatever.
He's been sent back. He was on loan at West Ham. He was on loan at West Ham. Maybe he's been sent back.
There are other strikers that need. I mean, even West Ham could take a Richarlison. I mean, but so Richarlison has a value, not the value we'd give him as Spurs fans. A lot of Spurs fans wouldn't value him above 20 mil, but I mean, but he has a much better value than that. I think you'd get 45. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Jim Wade, but that's not. It's the market forces that determine the price, not we as fans value players when we're not happy with them, right? You'd get more than that for him.
If Richarlison could stay fit, I think he's a very good player.
He's a handful. He's definitely. I mean, in that you're right. We see Richarlison at his best in the final. That was him. I mean, he's a handful.
Yeah, he makes things happen. He's willing to.
I want a handful that scores goals, Colin. You know, what I mean?
It's different. Yeah, absolutely.
For me, in the modern game, back in the day, it was different. You expected Archibald and Crooks to get you to 45 goals, which they did, 20 or 25 each. Now you're looking at 15 goals minimum, 15, 17 goals for your main striker, unless you're a Harry Kane or
I mean, it's interesting what you said about market forces because Dan Dan E will know this straight away, and I think he's alluded to this because I have in the past as well. But back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, the big money went on strikers. There was so many strikers worldwide that you could go for that were proper quality number 9s. But because of the way football's changed over the last 10 years or so, you're now not getting the strikers anymore because people are paying these 4-3-3s, and you're not getting the out-and-out 9s that you used to get. So therefore, I agree with you, Adrian, about market forces, because there isn't that many out there. You could still get a pretty penny for.
I mean, you would get. I mean, I believe you'd get 25 mil for Basuma. Where are you going to get a midfielder? Everton, Leeds, Palace were interested in Basuma. Where are you going to get a midfielder for 25 mil? What do you get for 25 mil when you quoted 60 million for Walker and players like that? And we'll see. I mean, we don't know. Frank might think, I want to keep Basuma, right? If he can produce his end of season form, then you would keep him. But why couldn't he produce it more consistently throughout the season? That's my argument. And like, we obviously haven't seen enough for Richarlison to know what he could really do in a free season where he's not injured. How many goals would he get you? At the moment, though, I don't trust Basuma and I don't trust Richarlison. But that's just my opinion. But look, you've got to give Frank whoever he wants to keep. We'll see.
As I said, I think that Frank will come in. I think Frank knows our squad, not personally one, right? But he knows of our players because he's been the manager from the Premiership for 4 years. He'll know who our players are. Played against him a fair few times, at least 8 times. He's played against Tottenham at least, if not more. If we've played cup games as well. So he's going to know who the players are and what their abilities are and what they can and can't do. With his coaching methods and his techniques, he's going to understand who he thinks he can work with, who he can't. So, therefore, like I said earlier, I think that and I said this well before the transfer window opened, that the first window was opening basically for all the clubs in the Club World Cup. They're the ones that were going to be doing deals. Outside of that, many deals won't be done. Some have been mentioned, but they still haven't been signed. They're not wearing the shirt. They haven't walked through the door yet. And this is from clubs that are not playing in the Club World Cup. So, like I said earlier, I think that some clubs will scramble. If a good deal comes up before the 30th of June, where some clubs are not complying with PSR, then some clubs might dip in and buy some players by the 30th of June. Otherwise, with Frank coming in, if he's coming in this week, which I think it'd be tomorrow, but when he comes in, he'll have an opportunity of a couple of weeks at least to figure out what his thoughts are and what he wants to do and whatever. And I think he will draw up his battle list and whatever he needs. He'll get the players into pre-season. And I think Tottenham will make their moves in July. I don't think, unless an opportunistic sale comes out, or with one of these teams that have got to get rid of players, then I think we're not going to make signings till July. So where all the supporters were saying, "Oh my God, everyone's moving. They're moving. They're shaking, and we're not doing nothing. We're standing still." I think there'll be movement, but it'll be in July.
What do you think about? Well, there's 3 homegrown we could bring in that are academy trained. You could bring in Walker Peters, you could bring in Dennis Sirkin, you could bring in Marcus Edwards. Then that would give us. Then we will be able to have a squad of 23 for the Champions League, which means that we will be able to have 14 foreign players in a Champions League squad.
Right, what do we need to make 25 then? You said if we bought them 3, we can only have a squad of 23.
No. If we bought all 3 of them, that would be different. We'd have a squad of 25. Because
Right,
we'd have 4 players.
How many players are we short then? Of 25 to make the 25. We're 3 academy.
Yeah, you've only got Austin now because Whiteman's been let go.
Yeah.
So that means last season with Austin, to make it easier. Well, last season with Austin, right? Our Europa League squad was 23 players. So now you've lost Whiteman, you drop 1. So now you're down to 22 players. Right? Because she's 2 11s, it's just not a third goalkeeper. Right? If you bring Walker Peters in, you've got 23 again. But when you're penalised, you're losing the foreign players. So in a full squad of 25, you'll have 17 foreign players. So now we can only have 14. So if you're bringing players in on transfers, I mean, look what happened this season, right? In January, you put the squad up again. The Euro squad has to be, you have to put the quota back in again. You can change your list. So we left out Dragerson because he was injured, Kinksky, and Werner, because we brought in Tell, Danso, and Spence to replace them. So this might be an issue. I mean, we don't know what shape the squad's going to be in come when the transfer window ends at the 1st of September. And I don't go like before we submit the squads for Europe. But at the moment, we can only field 14 foreign players for the Champions League. No problem for the Premier League, it'll be 17. But if you're a player in the Spurs squad and you're left out of that Champions League squad, you're going to be pissed off. So if Dragerson's still injured or Decky's still injured going into the season, it eases the pressure on Frank to name his squad, but he's going to have that problem come January when you have to do it again. When you do it again, it's going to happen. You know.
I just think to myself, and I said this.
That's why you bring Eze in. That's why you bring Eze in anyway. At least he's homegrown, although we haven't got a homegrown issue.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I said many a time now, Adrian, right? And the annoying thing for me with Tottenham Hotspur, right? There's a few things that do annoy me. I do love the club.
There's a lot more than a few that annoy me.
There's a few things that do annoy me. And the one thing that annoys me is, I mean, we've got people that follow our shows that support other clubs. I don't hear Liverpool. I don't hear Arsenal. I don't hear Man United. I don't hear any of these other teams that play in Europe, whether they're playing in the Conference, the Europa, or the Champions League. The rules are still the same for all three, the squads. I don't ever hear it going into a European campaign. Oh, we got an issue with homegrown players. Oh, we've got an issue with academy trained players. Tottenham, every single season we're in Europe, this surfaces. We talk about this all the time. I don't understand it. What is it that we're doing wrong? This is not something that's happened just now. I'm going back years and years of entering Europe. All I ever hear is, well, we don't meet the homegrown quota, or we don't meet the academy train. Why is it just Tottenham Hotspur? Because I don't hear this from other clubs. Would you agree with that, Colin?
Can you repeat the question? I apologize. I
was saying about, we're talking about European squads now, the homegrown talent and the academy trained. Every season Tottenham are in Europe. We hear, Adrian's talked about it now, and every season I hear we need homegrown or we need academy trained players to meet quotas in order to have a squad of 25. I only ever hear this with Tottenham, and it's not something that's new. I heard this 10 years ago as well. I heard it 6 years ago, and I'm hearing it again every season when you're in Europe. But then with our rival supporters or with other teams that enter into Europe, and I named a few earlier, like Liverpool's, your Arsenal's, your Man United's, and whoever have, even when West Ham were in Europe for the conference for 1 year, right? Villa have only just gone in. Newcastle have been in recently for one season. I never ever hear, Leicester were in it, weren't they, for 1 year or whatever. I never ever hear other clubs talk about, we're short on homegrown, we're short on academy, we can't field a squad of 25. Why is it always Tottenham, Colin? Is what I'm saying.
Interesting question. And again, you probably would know better than me about the other clubs, but I wonder if part of that is due to the fact that we don't, since we don't support other clubs, if we just don't hear as much of the internal issues. But again, but I'm sure that's only a piece of it, and you do make a probably a valid point in that it's more, with us than what other clubs have to worry about it themselves. I don't know. I don't think it's a. You used to hear good things about our academy, and it wasn't that long ago where we had, our was it the under 17s a couple of years ago? Anyway, the youngins used to win a lot, but yeah, there's been a while where we just haven't been able to. We're not very many of our young players have made the jump up into the first team. I don't know if they're clearly not good enough, but also
we've let some of them go as well. I mean, like Noel John.
I think part of it's like. Yeah. We've got high expectations here at our club, and I'm not sure. I think some of the young players that we've got could make the jump up and could work out if trusted. I don't know. I think it's a combination of maybe the academy not quite producing good enough players, but then also we just don't seem to be willing to give young players a chance. You know, we don't
It's
want
the
to.
3-year rule, Colin. It's the 3-year rule. You can go on the B list if you've been with the academy for 2 years. That's registered, not on loans. Loans don't count. That's why when Udogie was at Saar was out at Metz, it didn't count because he had done 3 years virtually. You know, so it didn't count. That's the reason why Bergvall and Gray can't go on the B list, because even though they're under 21, right, they've not done 2 years at the academy from the ages of 18 to 21, right? Now, for the 4 academy trained for Europe, they have to be with the academy for 3 years. And I'm sure other clubs have got this problem. I'm sure they have. We don't hear about it, like you rightly said, actually. So we've only got one there in Austin because we're letting Whiteman go. And I agree with that, actually, because if the player's not good enough, why would you want him in a squad? I mean, all right, you're being penalised by not having another foreign player in the squad. But then if you're going to have players in the squad that you're not going to use, it's just pointless. It's pointless. Fix the academy. Like in a year or two, we'll have so many that have done the 3 years, it'll be unreal. But I mean, maybe even next year. Maybe
what I beg to differ with you, Adrian, is that I know through my lifetime, and you know, I know fans, supporters, whatever you call them, from all other clubs, and the ones that I've mentioned, I know supporters from these clubs, and never ever have I heard them say, "Yeah, we've got a problem."
Fair enough. I'm not saying wrong.
Actually, from some of these supporters, I've asked them the question, "Do you have a problem, Hunt?" I've asked them the question for when they play in Europe. Do you have a problem? Have you ever had a problem? And they all say no. And it just seems to be, we always, I don't know a season that we've gone in and we've not turned around and spoken about homegrown, about academy trained. It just seems to be, I don't know, it just seems to be something that follows top.
It's just the foreign player effect, because with your academy players, we've always got enough players, like under 21s, that go on the B list with the 2 years. There's enough of them. And that list only has to be submitted 24 hours before a game for a European game. And you can change it before the next game you play and the next game you play. You can change that list. It's just having 3 years on the spin. We have let players go that would have qualified, as I said. I mean, Sirkin went, Marcus Edwards went, Carl Walker-Peters has done his time now. So that was 3. You know, I think Niall John went. I'm not sure about Santiago. He went to a Spanish club, didn't he? But they count if they've been with your academy for 3 years. And it was only a couple of years ago, before our youth, that won the League Cup this year, and they won 2 League Cups, and the under 21s last year won both the league and the playoff cup as well. It's only like 2 years when Paratici come and Dean Restrick left and they broke the pay structure that the academy's been virtually transformed, right, under Wayne Burnett, and the under 18s under Stuart Lewis. He'll probably be going with Ryan Mason at West Brom. So our academy has been, prior to that, it's been a bit of a shambles, to be honest. It's not been very professional, but it's looking much better now, much better. Although most of the under 21 team are out on loan, so they've had a poor season this year, which was understandable because they lost most of their key players. Yeah.
Right, chaps. Right, I've just put a comment in the private chat that I need to go and eat with the family. So, any final thoughts before we wrap up, Colin?
No, just going to be exciting in the next couple weeks to see what happens. I mean, like you guys were saying, I think that Thomas Frank's going to be announced any day. So just kind of coming to terms with that, and deciding, like everybody else, to support and get excited, and you know, and I'm excited to see who he wants to bring in, and you know, whether or not we can do that, and yeah, getting ready for another lovely season. So
I'm optimistic.
Because with Colin, it's been a while, but thank you for coming on, mate, and for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll get to see more of you. I know that your work has changed and your working patterns have changed and stuff like that, but yeah, it'd be nice to have you back on a more regular, if you can find time, and maybe if you do that, you'll be on these lists, Colin.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me, and definitely do it again very soon.
Fantastic. And Adrian, any final thoughts from you, mate?
Yeah, I hope it's not a straight strategy, but let's hope we build on the success of the Europa Cup win. And like, to all the fan base, that just get behind the manager. Don't judge him on half a dozen games. You get an idea of his style and how he's going to play. You know, just judge him at the end of the season or halfway through it. You know, just give your opinions on how you think he's doing. I don't think he's going to do badly. I think normally when you win a trophy, your following season usually means you do well as well. I'll expect that. I'm expecting us to actually. I think we're going to nick a domestic cup this season, and I think we'll get a Europa place. And to be honest, with the new manager, but if we bring in the signings, I think we're bringing on, I'll raise my expectation. You know, so get behind the manager. That's what I'm saying. Get behind him.
And what I've done for people in the chat that may not have seen this, there's a form here. There's a great concept that I think that Spurs Kings TVs have done. They've done a Tottenham YouTube Creators Awards list or whatever. I will say, if you're going to do this form, you have to pick at least one from every category, otherwise it won't work. So I think, yeah, have a go. It's a bit of fun. I think it's a great concept, as I said earlier, what Spurs Kings TV have done by doing this. And what I think that they've done actually unifies us and doesn't divide us, because they've actually put a lot of channels on there, some that people may not have heard of. So, you know, it's time to, if you want, widen your horizon on Tottenham channels. But it's well worth a go on it. And, you know, again, I'm going to give out respect to Spurs Kings TV for doing this, and not only for doing it, but actually nominating me twice, which I was quite shocked about. And Adrian knew nothing about this before the show, that this was happening. And Adrian, and I think Ian as well, because I saw Ian put something in the chat after he left the show. Ian is also happy that your channel has been nominated twice as well.
So we'll get 2 votes then.
So yeah, people, if you get a chance, go over and show some love to Spurs Kings TV and have a go on this form, and go from there. I will be back. Don't know when, but I will be back soon, because like Adrian and like Colin, there's always stuff to talk about with Tottenham, and it's nice to get back in the swing of things and actually do some shows that are away from me doing my predictions. And I'm saying that now because God, it was a chore and a long old season doing predictions, but now we can talk football without having to do predictions. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about predictions. They will come, but later when the season starts. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. Thank you very much for your comments. You've all taken part, which is great. Ryan, thank you very much. Says 9-month member chat, says great show, guys. Have a good rest of your day. And you and the other people I need to say thank you to are Peter Kagayas for gifting 5 channel memberships earlier, Lee Wiz for his 9-month member badge. Congratulations, congratulating us as champions. Drew Love for her 9-month member badge, and obviously Ryan just now. Thank you very much, all of you, for supporting the channel. You've been a great support. You guys are the reason why we do it. We're nothing without the people that tune in and make comments, because otherwise, yeah, although you've got a couple of oldies here that could probably waffle all day long, it's good to get the chat also engaging us and making us talk about what you want and said and what you want answered. So thank you very much, everyone. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
We are European champions. Come on, you Spurs.
Come
Any
on,
final
you
word?
Spurs.
There we go. I was waiting for Colin. I have to say it again, Colin.
Oh, I said, come on, you Spurs. And I
Yeah.
love all you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Loud and proud. Come on, you Spurs.
Tell, Cockerel, he's just a true guy. You'll have a true time. Tell, Cockerel, leave your troubles at the door. You know the game, you know the score. We're here to have fun, so holster that gun and read the writing on the wall. The predictions just goes on and 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 on. Why do I always get it wrong? El Cockerel. He's just a chill guy. You'll have a chill time. El Cockerel. Jose gets himself around. Always talking Spurs, wherever he is found, home or away. He always tips to win, throws the form book in the bin with a cheeky knowing grin. El Cockerel. He's just a chill guy. You'll have a chill time. El Cockerel. Why do I always get it wrong? Every time I play along. El Cockerel. The show is so chilled. Your time is well filled. If you want good friendly chat, then here's where it's at. El Cockerel. Goes on and 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 on. Why do I always get it wrong? El Cockerel. The show is so chill. Your time is well filled. If you want good friendly chat,